Welcome to Sunday Night with Old Time Radio. It's always a pleasure to have you join us. We have a nice program for you tonight. At least we hope that you'll find it so. We begin with Jerry at Fair Oaks, and then Moon over Africa. We have a short segment called Can You Imagine That? Then we go to Parsley Sidings with the Postal Express. We have an episode of The Scarlet Queen, King's Treasure, then Sherlock Holmes. We also have another episode of Down Our Way, and we close with Plum House. So let's get started.
Jerry at Fair Oaks.
Then he again returned to Rome. He returned as a conqueror and became dictator for life. Now Cassius, heading a group of powerful men, became jealous, and their dissension resulted in the plot to assassinate Caesar.
Hey, Jerry.
That was carried
Yeah,
out by
what?
the hand
Only
of
a
his
couple of more
friend
minutes
Brutus.
now. Hey, do you
And
think
it
the
is
list will
most
be posted?
abundant
Sure.
greatest
They said it
betrayal
would be
of
by the
all
time
time.
class was out.
Cadet Dugan,
Yes, sir.
tell me now, just when did that take place? The day, the month, and the year.
I'm sorry, Professor. I didn't get the question.
Were you paying attention?
Yes, sir.
The question was, when was Caesar assassinated by Brutus?
That was 49 B.C. Then in 55 B.C.
Come, Dugan. That was part of my lecture yesterday.
Yes, sir. I know it was.
Well?
55 and then... I don't remember, sir.
Oh, that's too bad. I'm sorry.
Was it 24 B.C.?
You're just guessing now, my boy. I'm sorry you missed that part of the lecture. It's very important that you remember all of the dates. Well, time's up. I'll have to dismiss the class now, but I'll be very glad to help you, Dugan. We'll go over what I spoke about yesterday. You just remain seated. The rest of you may go now.
Yeah, I'll see you in the hallway by the bulletin board, Jerry. Try to hurry it up. Too bad you got stuck.
I'll be out of here in no time. Watch me. I gotta find out if my name's on the list.
Okay, I'll be waiting for you.
Now, Dugan, if you'll just come up to my desk here.
Yes, sir.
Just pull that chair up. Sit here next to me.
Yes, sir.
Now then, in stressing these things, I have a very definite reason. If you're to get the most out of the history of the Roman Empire, you must remember all of the dates. They have so much bearing on the ensuing events. You understand that, don't you?
Oh, yes, sir. But I thought that
Now,
maybe...
just a moment. I'm fully aware, Dugan, that these things may not seem to be of any real importance to you at the time.
Oh, no,
But
sir. But what I wanted to know...
Let me finish.
Yes, sir.
In later years, you will no doubt come to feel as I do. Why, to be without a perfect understanding of ancient history is a crime. Yes, I'll go so far as to say that. To face the world and its problems without it is like a carpenter trying to build a house without tools. The knowledge is here for you, Dugan, and I want so much to help you get it.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Now to get back. Yes. What was the question you fell down on?
You asked me when Caesar was assassinated.
Oh, yes, that's right. That's the question. Now, think hard. Was it 44 B.C.?
Yes, that's it. 44 B.C.
See there? You recognized the date right off.
Yes, sir. I just couldn't think of it a while ago. But, Professor Custis,
We'll
I'd
take
like...
one thing at a time. Now, do you recall the day and the month?
Please, sir, I'd like to ask
I'll
you...
answer all of your questions, Dugan. Now, let's get this date first. Now, was it March?
March. Yeah, I think it was.
That's right. It was March. Now, do you recall the date?
Yes, sir, I've got it now. The 15th of March, 44 B.C.
Right. Absolutely correct. Now, you see, it wasn't so hard. Try to remember that now.
Yes, sir, I will. Now, may I...
Yes. What's your question now?
Well, sir, they're posting the list on the bulletin board. Maybe it's up already.
The list? What list?
The list of cadets that have been picked to take the riding test for the mounted drill team.
I don't believe I understand you, Dugan. The riding team? Oh, yes. I see. Oh, the mounted drill team. Yes.
I wanted to see if... Well, I'm anxious to find out if I was picked.
Naturally. Yes, you would be. I think it's very fine that you boys take an active interest in the outdoor sports.
Yes, sir. May I please...
I was somewhat of an athlete myself when I was your age. Yes, but that's going back a few years. Quite a few years. Almost like ancient history.
I hope I made it.
What's that?
Oh, nothing, sir. I was just saying I hope I made it.
Do you think your name might be on the list?
Yes, sir, I do.
Well, run along then and find out. If I was in your shoes, I could hardly wait.
Thank you, sir.
I hope you're fortunate, Dugan.
Thank you, Professor.
Come on, hurry it up.
Whew. Gee, I thought I'd never get out of there.
Take a look at that list.
Is my name up there? Let's see. Hey, is it? Right up on top.
I knew it would be.
Hey, wait a minute. Let's see who the others are. Red Morrison and Paul Warren.
Mm-hmm. Did you notice you're the only plebe on the list?
Yeah, I made it. So far, so good. Hey, what's next?
Well, read the rest of that notice.
Oh, yeah. As soon as the time for the test is determined, cadets whose names appear on this list will be notified direct. Sergeant Alden.
What's that grin on your face for?
Oh, wouldn't you be grinning, too?
You just bet I would, Jerry. Hey, come on, let's go over to the room.
Okay.
Did you notice Red's name was up there?
Mm-hmm. I wonder how come.
Why not?
Well, I thought when he was taken off the polo team, he was all through riding.
No, he's worked off all of his demerits and been reinstated as a cadet officer. There's no reason why he shouldn't try out as long as he can ride. Of course, his position on the polo team's gone.
Hey, how's Warren doing? Did you hear?
Yeah, seems to me I did. Let's see, who was it? Oh, I think Ted Metcalf told me that Paul was doing all right. Too bad you didn't make it.
Oh, I don't care. I'd just soon be on the mounted drill team.
Yeah, you might get into polo later on.
Sure, maybe. Oh, wait a minute.
Where you going?
Well, while we're so close, I want to see if there's any mail for me. I'll look for you, too.
Okay, but you didn't have to run away like that.
I got one,
Oh, good.
but there wasn't anything for you.
Well, that's okay. I wasn't expecting anything.
Yeah, this is a nice fat letter from Mr. Randall.
Well, aren't you going to open it?
Hey, let's go over to one of the alumni benches.
Okay. It's your letter.
I can't read while I'm walking. I got to sit down.
Kind of fussy, aren't you?
Well, can you read while you're walking?
Sure.
Yeah, but not as good as standing still or sitting down.
All right, you win.
I wonder what he's got to say. I haven't had a letter for about a week.
Say, that's right, you haven't.
Not since the one when he turned me down about the money to loan to Mac.
Yeah, well, it's just as well it turned out that way now.
What do you mean?
Well, Mac might have spent the money and got his working model all ready before he found out his idea was already invented.
I see what you mean. And boy, would Mr. Randall laugh at me if that happened.
I'll say he would.
Bumps used to always say to me that things happen for the best.
I guess that's a good way to feel.
Sure it is. Well, come on and sit down while I read my letter.
You gonna read it out loud?
Well, do you want to hear it?
Mm-hmm, go ahead.
Okay. Dear Jerry, sorry to have kept you waiting for a letter so long, but we've been very busy. Just finished 6 one-night stands in a row, and you know what that is.
What is it, Jerry?
Oh, one-night stands means that the circus just plays in a town one day and then moves right on to the next town.
Oh, I see. Go ahead.
And, Bumps and Jason and Patsy are all fine and asked to be remembered. Rags is fine, too, and Bumps asked me to tell you that he's doing 2 new tricks with him. Some new kind of somersault tricks. I haven't had a chance to see them yet. I was very glad to learn, Jerry, that you tried out for the polo team. What experience you received with the circus and the tips Whitey gave you about horses should prove of great value.
Whitey was the man in charge of the horses for the circus?
Uh-huh. Hey, let me finish this now.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
By the way, Splendor has grown so big you won't know him anymore. He's not the little colt he was when you left. That's the colt I broke in, Lee.
Oh.
I was the first one that ever rode him.
Say, have you got a picture of him, Jerry?
No, I haven't. I wish I did have, though. Hey, wait a minute. Must hurry this along now. But before I close, I want to tell you that I'm sending you a surprise. I might add a big surprise. It should reach you about the same time this letter gets there. I hope you're pleased, Jerry. Be sure to write and let me know how you like it. With all good wishes from your circus friends and myself, Sam Randall.
Wonder what the surprise is.
He says I might add a big surprise. Hey, maybe it's a package or something. I didn't look for a package. Hey, come on, let's go back over to Custis Hall and see if it's there yet.
Okay. He said it should be here by the same time the letter gets here.
Well, maybe it is. Well, I sure hope so. Hey, I wonder what it is. What could it be? Hey, come on, let's hurry.
It's probably a box of something.
A box of what?
Search me. But whatever it is, it's most likely there on that rack for packages under the mailbox.
Boy, this sure looks like my lucky day.
It does, doesn't it?
All except having to stay after class.
Oh, I meant to ask you. What did old Custy say to you? You didn't get called down, did you?
No, he was nice. Any other time, I'd have been glad to stay and talk with him. I like Professor Custis.
Oh, yeah, all the fellas like old Stormy Weather. Did you know he's got a lifetime job here at Fair Oaks?
No, is that so?
Mm-hmm. You knew Custis Hall was named after him, didn't you?
Uh-huh, but I don't know why.
Well, Professor Custis was a lifelong friend of Colonel Montgomery Davis, the man that founded Fair Oaks. Custis Hall was the first building erected at Fair Oaks and named after him by Colonel Davis in tribute to his friend.
Gee, that's nice, isn't it?
Mm-hmm, sure is.
Boy, I sure hope that surprise package is here now.
You don't know for sure it is a package.
Well, whatever it is, I hope it's here.
I do, too. You even got me anxious about it.
Well, if it isn't here now, I guess it won't come until tomorrow, will it?
No, that's right. There won't be another mail until tomorrow morning. Well, there's the rack for the packages.
Yeah. I don't see any package.
I don't either. Say, I got an idea. How about asking Major Davis? I mean, if it came registered or special delivery, he might have it in his office. Come on, his office is right over here.
Okay.
Enter. Well, Cadet Dugan.
Yes, sir.
You're just the man I'm looking for. I was just about to send an orderly to find you. Sergeant Alden called me a few minutes ago and told me he was very anxious for you to come right out to the stable.
I'll go right out, sir.
Now, wait a minute. I'd like to go along with you. I'll just get my cap here. Well, there we are.
Say, I'll see you over at the room, Jerry.
Oh, don't you want to come along, Lee?
Well, sir, if it's all right.
Certainly. Come along with us.
Excuse me, Major.
Yes?
Did Sergeant Alden say what he wanted to see me about?
He said it was very urgent, Jerry.
Gee, I wonder what it could be.
African drums are talking. Through day and through night, the booming of the drums continues. They bring you a story of a primitive land, of life and death in strange and varying forms. Dark bodies slinking through trees, feline forms creeping through underbrush. This is nature's hunting ground, where murder is rampant and the law of the jungle prevails. Professor Anton Edwards, a man of huge proportions, heading a scientific expedition into Africa on the trail of what to him is a tribe of people related to the lost Atlanteans, is seeking a small carved native snuff box. carvings on this box will open the way for his party through some bad country. But while the professor, his daughter Lorna, and his assistant Jack Martin approach their goal, they're suddenly set upon and, hands bound behind their backs, forced to walk ahead of their captors.
Are you all right, Jack? Yes, I'm all right. What do you make of it, sir? I've been afraid to speak in case they'd separate us.
Can't make head nor tail of it, my boy. These natives hadn't let a peep out of them since grabbing us. They usually go about after a capture with yells and screeches.
The whole thing was over so quickly, it seemed like black magic. I wonder how Lorna's taking it.
I don't know if you've noticed it, Jack, but they haven't laid a hand on her. At least not since I got over that whack on the head. What happened while I was laid out there?
Well, you weren't out very long, sir. Only about half a minute. They probably figured it was the only way to deal with you. They threw me on my face and tied my hands. When I was hauled up again, Lorna was ringed with spears. I don't think they touched her with their hands.
I wish this black behind me would keep his spear out of my back. If it wasn't for Lorna, I'd snap these thongs and brain the idiot.
I wouldn't do that, sir. They'd just tie you up more effectively the next time. They don't know your strength. It might be a good idea to let them think you're helpless.
Yes, I suppose so. But I'd brain a few before they got me down again. I wish I knew what their game was.
What tribe are they? They're rather large for natives of these parts.
I don't know. I can't get the beggars to talk. They just grunt and point the way.
Well, we've been walking for half an hour. We ought to be getting near somewhere. Oh, yes, look. There's a group of huts.
Yeah, that big hut over there must belong to the chief. See that one next to it with all the paraphernalia?
Yes.
That belongs to a witch doctor.
They're taking Lorna over to the chief's hut. Can't we do something, sir?
There's nothing to be done. She hasn't been harmed yet, which is a good sign. But if I hear the slightest cry out of her, somebody's going to pay for it. They evidently mean us to park in that hut straight ahead. Come on.
That hut doesn't look exactly healthy, does it? You'll have to bend and go in sideways. You'll take part of the doorway with you, sir.
You go in first, Jack. I want to try something.
All right, sir. Here goes.
That's that. I thought it'd loosen their tongue.
Well, what did you do to start all that babbling?
Simply turned around 3 times before entering the hut.
Does that mean anything?
Nothing as far as I know. My hands had been free, I'd have played eeny, meeny, miny, mo on my fingers. These blacks are so full of superstition, anything like that appears to be bad medicine to them.
But why did you do it, sir?
Well, I couldn't bear the thought of being taken without giving them something to worry about. Besides, I wanted to hear them talk.
Good Lord, but it's dark in here.
It'll be dark outside in a few minutes.
Are you sure they don't mean any harm to Lorna?
Well, the signs are fairly good up to now. I hope Lorna keeps her head, though.
You know, the thing that stands out in my mind is that these blacks haven't laid a hand on her.
That's it. They've either been given orders not to touch her or they think she's sacred.
If it's the former, I don't like the look of it. That means we've been watched and they knew Lorna was one of our party.
Well, let's hope they think she's a goddess or something. Then we'll have time to work before they begin any ritual stuff.
Look, they've placed a guard at the door. I can see to the crack in the wall.
These walls are nothing but interwoven grass, Jack. Be an easy thing to break them down.
Probably get a spear in the back of the neck as soon as we put our heads outside. Look at that. There's someone talking to the guard. It's a woman. She's coming in. Look at her lips. Like great saucers.
That's food she's placing on the ground. Turn around, Jack. She wants to untie your hands. Yes, that's right.
Good heavens, sir. This is unbelievable. I've heard of these great-lipped women, but I've never seen one before. Well, I'm glad I'm going to have my hands free to eat anyhow. Boy, that feels good.
That means it's your job to take these thongs off my wrists. Come, look sharp, Jack. I'm hungry. Jack, that's a woman from the Ubangis race.
Hold still, sir. It's so confoundedly black in here, I've got to feel for the knot.
Oh, don't worry. I'll snap it. That's better. And where's the grub? You know, it'll be the first time I've tasted native food in years.
Did those thongs cut your wrists, sir?
Not enough to worry about.
Well, I have some iodine capsules in my
Oh,
pocket.
for heaven's sake, Jack, let's go native for a while and forget civilization. When I do that, it always helps me to outthink these savages. I've been in worse fixes than this, but then I didn't have Lorna with me. Yeah, that tastes good.
Say, how do you eat this stuff, sir? With your fingers?
Of course. Back to nature, my boy. Does you good once in a while.
You don't seem to be worried at all since you recognized that woman with the great lip extension. Recognized her tribe, I mean.
Well, I'm not, Jack. But wait a minute. Maybe I'm wrong. I've just thought of something.
Is it anything helpful, sir?
No, I'm afraid not. Possibly I was holding on to a forlorn hope. You see, the Ubangis are a peaceable people and full of curiosity. I thought maybe we were victims of that.
And on the other hand?
Well, those people have been habitual slaves for many years. It's just possible that this woman is just that, a slave.
Well, are there any known tribes of Ubangis in these parts?
No. The furthest north I found them is the village of Kayabi, bordering on the Cameroons. Come on, eat something, Jack. We'll need all the strength we can get.
Well, I really don't feel like eating, sir.
No stomach for native food, eh? Then if you were cooped up in a place like this for a week, you'd soon get to like it.
Well, I guess I'm just a little...
Hush. You hear that?
What's that?
That dog barking. Quiet. I want to listen to it. I knew it, Jack. I knew it the moment I heard it. Thank goodness I haven't lost those senses.
What is it, sir? All I heard was the yap of a native dog.
That native dog you heard was Unguru. He knows where we are, evidently followed us and saw what happened.
But what can he do? The native porters can't help him.
We don't want the porters. I'd rather have Unguru with me than any 10 men you'd like to name, Jack. I haven't told you his history, have I?
No, the first time I saw him was when I joined you.
Yeah, well, he's a Maasai. Chief's son. Keep quiet. There he is now. The far end of the hut. I'm going over. That you, Unguru?
Bwana. Fear nothing. Missy safe in the hut.
How did you get up here?
These men, fool, hear nothing, see nothing.
You know where my daughter is?
Bwana. Missy in hut 1, 2. Guru, go kill 'em, God. Huh?
No, not yet. Wait. What did you bring, you old shadow?
Guru bring Bwana's ranga.
Good, my war club.
Shotgun, little warrior. Dig, Bwana, dig.
Yeah. Jack, help me dig under the hut quick. He's brought a revolver for you and my war club. Guru, if there's any danger, leave the things there and move back until I give the signal.
Danger, finish, Bwana. Guru kill 'em, one guard by gate. One man big eye, try stopping Guru. Catch 'em neck, so.
But what did he say he did?
He broke the neck of the guard at the gate and also another man who saw too much. It's an old trick Unguru and I used during the war.
But they'll find the dead guard and start a search, won't they?
No, they'll think it's the juju I worked as I entered the hut. There'll be no mark on them.
Here's the gun, sir. And here's the club.
Yeah, there's a knife, too. Guru, asante sana.
That goes for me as well, old fellow. Thanks very much.
Bwana. They find dead man.
Lie still, old watchdog. Lie still. Is it the guard?
Other man lie in bush, no see.
Good work, Unguru. When safe, return to Missy. Say we come tonight.
Bwana. I go.
How in the world did he manage it, sir? I mean, coming through the village like that.
Jack, that black sinner could go through Hades without even Satan knowing of it. You know, sometimes I wonder if he isn't Satan himself. He holds all these tribespeople in absolute contempt.
Well, if he can do a thing like that, I don't wonder at it. By the way, sir, what war was it that you spoke of just now?
Surely you didn't have Nguru in France with you?
No, I was in East Africa in 1914. Nguru was my guide and gun bearer. We attached ourselves to a British force that was moving into some country I wanted to go over, and we had a lot of fun.
Listen. The drums have started, sir. I think it's a message.
Yes, listen. Come. Meet. White. Full moon. Tomorrow. Good heavens, Jack.
What is it, sir?
These people are cannibals. They're setting a feast for the full moon and calling the tribe home, saying the meat has been found.
Good Lord.
I didn't think it was as serious as that.
We haven't heard a sound from Lorna. Do you think anything could have happened?
No, Jack. These people only become cannibals at the full moon. I know what they are now. They never kill until the full moon appears. It's a sort of ritual with them.
But that's tomorrow.
Yes, we've got to get out of here tonight or we'll never get out.
That's Lorna. Good Lord, sir, we can't sit here and do nothing.
Grog was originally a British admiral.
An 11-year-old boy goes 30 feet into a well to save a baby.
The composer of I'll Take You Home Again, Kathleen, really meant what he wrote.
Can you imagine that? Yes, friends, this is Lindsay McCarry, back once more with another batch of stranger-than-fiction facts with which to astound and amaze you. We've dug up some more fascinating peculiarities of this old world of ours, and in just a moment or two, my cohorts and I will be back with you to present them. And yes, sir, we're back. Now, on most of these Can You Imagine That broadcasts, we're going to give you the picturesque origin of some word now in common usage in the English language. The word grog today means any hard liquor or alcoholic beverage. Now, I wonder how many of you know how grog came to possess its present meaning. Well, it goes away back almost 200 years to the year 1740. Let's imagine ourselves back in that year on board an English man-of-war, somewhere on the high seas.
Oh, this is a night for work, laddie. You'll be earning your pay in food this night. Wind stirring up the sea like a witch's broth. Hey, look alive there. Old Grog will be coming on deck soon. Oh, look alive.
Old Grog? You mean Admiral Vernon?
The same, me lad, Admiral Vernon. Him in his grogram cloak.
Grogram cloak?
Aye, grogram cloak. Half wool and half mohair, so they say. He wears it in foul weather. We calls him Old Grog. But a better sailor never set foot on oak decks, and a tougher admiral never commanded a ship. Oh, well, let's go below and take on some victuals, lad.
Yes, sir.
I'll move over, matey. Let a man sit down to his supper. Here, laddie, in here.
I'm hungry.
And I'm thirsty. Nothing like a panic in a woman rum to take the chill out of a man's bones after he's walked a wet and stormy deck. Here's the British rum. Hey, what's this? What's this?
He don't like
Who put water in my rum? Foul joke, I calls it, after a man has climbed rope in his sail. Who put water in my rum?
Admiral Vernon, old grog.
That's a lie. And if I find the one what done it...
Now, it's true, matey. Old grog's cutting expensive. And cutting rum does the trick, he thinks.
Well, I'll be watered rum. Now, ain't that the thing, watered rum? It ain't rum and it ain't water. It's half and not fit for either name. I know what we'll call it. Name it after him what thought of it. Grog. That's what it is, grog.
And so the word grog, originally from the French language grogrin, meaning a coarse-grained cloth, then into English as grogram, then as a nickname for a famous British admiral, then as his concoction of half rum and half water, now means any alcoholic beverage. Can you imagine that? Now, we're going to take you to Texas, to Eastland, Texas, to be exact. On February 18, 1928, a group of workmen are busy tearing down the old courthouse to make way for Eastland County's new Capitol building. As the cornerstone is about to be removed, one of the interested visitors, County Judge Edward Pritchard, looks on.
Okay, man, she's off.
Hey, look at here.
What's eating you, Spike? Seen a Gila monster?
No, but look at this little old horn toad.
Well, ain't you ever seen a horned toad before?
Yeah, but this one was in that there cornerstone.
What is it, boys? What's the matter?
Oh, hello, Judge Pritchard. Look what we found. Little old horn toad, dead.
Poor little fella. Oh, let's see. He's been buried there in that cornerstone for 31 years. That's how old this building is.
That's right. Hey, you all see what I see?
What's up now, Spike?
Can't you see, Judge? That darn thing has opened its eyes.
Yes, sir, the horned toad opened its eyes and in a little while began to breathe. Pretty soon, Old Rip, that's what they came to call him, Old Rip became a national institution. He was the living manifestation of the western Texas legend that a Phrynosoma cornutum, horned toad to you, could live a century without food, air, or water. As a matter of fact, Old Rip even visited Calvin Coolidge in the presidential mansion. The whole situation became such a national issue that when another horned toad was sealed in the cornerstone of the new Eastland County Courthouse, a group of humane citizens obtained a court order to have him released. Can you imagine that?
But, Lindsay, I can't understand how any living thing could live for 31 years without air or food or water.
No? Well, that's just what a group of scientists couldn't understand either. So some of them began to investigate. After experimenting, this is what two of them said. Dr. William W. Mann, director of the National Zoological Park.
It's absolutely impossible for Eastland's toad to have lived 31 years in a cornerstone.
Dr. G.K. Noble, curator of reptiles in the American Museum of Natural History at New York.
It's absolutely impossible for an animal to live without oxygen for any length of time.
So there you are. Did Old Rip live 31 years sealed in that cornerstone in Texas, or didn't he? Well, I'll leave it to you because apparently the scientists and the citizens of Eastland can't agree. Can you imagine that? Well, now, let's see. Oh, yes, here's an odd little story that I found in a newspaper of 1912. It was on May Day of that year in the town of Dothan, Alabama, that a group of workmen had just finished lunch and were returning to their task of boring a well.
All right, boys, get to work.
Hey, what's that?
This sound powerful much like a picking in it?
Lordy, looky down there in that well.
Man, oh, man, it's a white baby.
Come on, let's get to work. What's holding up the parade?
Looky, boss, down there in that old well. Little white child done fall in.
What? Well, but don't stand there. Get him out.
We can't go down there in that hole, boss. It's 30 feet down to the bottom, only 15 inches across. None of us can get down there nohow.
Yeah, you're right. We can't widen the hole or the dirt will fall down there on the baby.
Yeah.
What's happened?
Oh, run along, young'un, run along, run away.
Come on, tell me, what's that? Hey, there's a baby down that well.
That's right, white boy. Baby done fall down there, and we can't get him out.
Of course you can't. You're too big. But I can.
What? Well, sure you can. Will you do it, boy?
Sure I will. Come on, tie a rope around my feet and let me down that well.
Yeah, sure. Go on, get a rope out. And tie it around him.
Well, sir, young Henry Matthews, a tailor's apprentice, 11 years old, was lowered slowly down into that 30-foot well. Down, down, down toward the little 3-year-old Benny Grant he went. Twice he tried and failed. Twice he had to be drawn up without the baby. Then, on the third try, at last his voice rang up the narrow excavation.
Hold it! Okay, I've got him. Pull us up!
And the two were drawn up to the surface, both safe and uninjured. When the baby's father, bank cashier B.J. Grant, warmly thanked Henry Matthews, Henry said bashfully,
"'Twarn't nothing."
But the Carnegie Foundation and Mr. Grant thought differently, for Henry received not only a Carnegie Medal for valor, but a trust fund to provide him with a college education. Can you imagine that? You know, a great many of our popular songs have had a strange, inspirational origin. Most of the so-called pop tunes today are written to fit a particular situation in a motion picture or a stage musical production. But some of the old ones can boast of a much more romantic beginning. For instance, well, let's go back to a home in Louisville, Kentucky in the year 1875. Thomas Payne Westendorf, a native Virginian, is sitting in the parlor with his beloved wife, reading.
Tom,
Yes, honey.
surroundings.
Yes, Kathleen, I know. And I think you should go back to New York in the spring to visit your mother for a while. Would you like that?
I so dread that long trip all alone.
Alone? Oh, honey. You don't think I'd let you make that trip alone, do you? Don't worry. In the spring, I'll go with you, Kathleen. I'll take you home.
I think I'll go to bed. Good night.
Good night, honey.
After his wife had left the room, Tom Westendorf couldn't concentrate on his book. Something seemed to draw him to the piano. Music would prove a solace in the recent sorrow he and Kathleen had experienced. As he improvised on the ivory keys, his eyes fell upon an old song by George Parsley, "Barney, I'll Take You Home Again." The words of the title struck him. Immediately, a melody seemed to drip from his fingers. Suddenly, he left the piano and began to write words. Verses flew across the paper before him. And within an hour, Thomas Payne Westendorf had written the words and music of one of our most beloved ballads.
I'll take you home again, Kathleen, across the ocean wild and wide, to where your heart has ever been, since first you were my bonny bride. The roses all have left your cheek. I've watched them fade away and die. Your voice is sad whene'er you speak, and tears bedim your loving eyes. Oh, I will take you back, Kathleen, to where your heart will feel no pain, and when the fields are fresh and green, I'll take you to your home again.
Yes, Tom Westendorf really meant what he wrote when he penned the song, "I'll Take You Home Again, Kathleen." Can you imagine that? Well, I'm afraid it's time to bid you all farewell again. This is Lindsay McCarry reminding you that we'll be back again soon on this same station with another batch of amazing facts and fancies in the next session of Can You Imagine That?
this service is the special excursion to Parsley Sidings.
Welcome to Parsley Sidings with Kenneth Connor, Liz Fraser, Ian Lavender, John Graham, and as the station master, Arthur Lowe. Running a railway station demands constant vigilance and forethought. As Horace Hepplewhite prepares to hold a staff meeting, there's more on his mind than just his station master's hat.
Morning, Miss Simpkins. Where's Valentine?
He collected the tickets from the 10:30 and then went along to fetch Bert from the booking office.
I see. Talking about my son Bertrand, Miss Simpkins. I've been meaning to ask you a question about him for some time.
Oh?
Do you think Bertrand is happy here, Miss Simpkins?
Happy?
Yes. Is he happy at Parsley Sidings? A couple of times recently I've noticed him behaving oddly. Kicking a sand bucket. Polishing his hat on the British rail regulations in the waiting room, that sort of thing. Makes me wonder if he's happy with the railways.
I'm sure he is.
Fathers tend to worry, you know. In that boy's boots walks the future of British rail. One hopes the feet in those boots are happy ones.
Well, Bert, have you handed in your notice yet, then?
No. Even the thought of it brings me out in goose pimples. I reckon I'll still be at Parsley Sidings when I'm an old maid. Well, I can't bring myself to hurt Dad, you see. You know, there's an old legend that when the last of the Hepplewhites leaves Parsley Sidings, the end of his platform drops off.
Yeah. There's a similar thing about Death Watch Beetle in my granddad's wooden leg. Ah, well, I wonder why the old man's called this staff meeting.
Well, I hope it's to deal with my application. I've asked for a mirror for my booking hall.
A mirror?
It gets lonely not having many customers. If I had a mirror in there, I could look in it and pretend I was different passengers buying tickets.
You haven't been at the Cowslip Wine again, have you?
No.
Valentine and Hepplewhite. Come in and sit down. No doubt you're all agog to know why I've called this staff meeting.
Oh, yes, Mr. Hepplewhite.
This morning I had a communique from none other than St. Pancras himself. It advised me that the district of Parsley and Potwhistle is to be incorporated into the British Rail Postal Express system.
Cool. Did he say anything about my mirror, Mr. Hepplewhite?
I beg your pardon?
I wondered if St. Pancras mentioned my mirror at all in his communique.
St. Pancras and I have not discussed your mirror, Hepplewhite. Matters like your mirror are resolved at station master level. To continue. Jonas Bobbin, sub-postmaster at Parsley and Potwhistle, has been unable to keep up with things since his tricycle failed the MOT. British Rail have therefore decided to install a rail-side picking up and delivery point for express mail.
What, you mean one of those net things, you know, where the train sort of picks up a bag without slowing down and drops one at the same time?
I do indeed, Valentine. The 1901 patent drop-it-and-cop-it tackle.
Where will it be, Mr. Hepplewhite?
I'm very glad you asked me that. British Rail are undecided whether to erect it here at Parsley Sidings or over at Potwhistle Halt.
Not Potwhistle Halt.
My sentiments exactly. I feel this needs looking into.
If I looked into it, I could talk to myself. The mirror I applied for.
That'll do, Hepplewhite.
Here, how will British Rail decide which station gets this mailbag fiddle?
A trial run. Temporary drop-it-and-cop-it arrangements will be set up both at Parsley Sidings and at Potwhistle Halt. And on Thursday, an express train will pick up and drop one at each station. The permanent fixture will go to whichever operates its equipment most successfully.
Oh, I do hope it's us, Mr. Hepplewhite.
I have every confidence that it will be, Miss Simpkins. We must watch out for sabotage from Potwhistle Halt.
Sabotage? Oh, they'd never do that, would they?
Their station master, Phineas Perkins, is an unscrupulous man.
Oh, I had to put it another way. He's so crooked he has to screw his hat on.
Exactly. And Potwhistle will be desperate to win this fixture, as it carries with it a generous mail allowance. So, on your guard, everyone.
Hello, Percy. What are the binoculars for?
I'm watching out for Potwhistle spies trying to meddle with our drop-it-and-cop-it.
Surely Phineas Perkins wouldn't actually meddle with our fixtures, would he?
There are people about who'd stoop that low.
Really?
Me, for instance. Yeah. I'm gonna meddle with his.
Never.
What? I'm gonna make Pop Whistle Hawk look silly in front of that postal inspector. I've got a sack load of 400 eggs, which I intend to substitute for the mailbag in their net. And when the train picks it up, it'll turn into an 80-mile-an-hour omelette.
That's really immoral.
Oh, thanks. Hello, look out, there's a train coming. Watch out for Pop Whistle Spice.
Oh, you play James Bond while I announce the train.
Right.
This is the 6:17 to Upper Crumpton, stopping at Waddle-on-Thrush, Little Nethering, Upper Warlock, and Nurdle Crumpton.
That was beautiful, Gloria.
Did you notice anyone?
Not half. Look at that blonde over there.
Did you play it by ear, Valentine, or did you have musical training?
Oh, Mr. Applewhite, I was just wondering, sir, if I should follow that young lady over there. She might be up to no good.
I hardly think that's necessary. She looks perfectly respectable to me.
Yeah.
Do you really think that Phineas Perkins will try something, Mr. Hebblewhite?
He's low and cunning, Miss Simpkins. You can tell by the fact that his eyes are set close together. He's the only person I know whose spectacles take the form of one lens on the bridge of his nose.
Mr. Applewhite, look, the way to make sure of this mail job is to nobble Pop Whistle's gear.
Valentine, are you suggesting that we at Parsley Sidings resort to underhand methods?
Yes. Now, look, I've got these eggs, you see.
Not another word. I can feel 7 generations of Hepplewhites turning beneath the platform at the very idea. Let us go to the signal box. I wish to speak to Bradshaw about Thursday's arrangements. With only 2 days to go before the big day, we don't want any slip-ups. And Valentine,
sir,
I don't want to hear any more about nobbling.
All right, sir. I wonder if I could sell 400 hard-boiled eggs to the station buffet.
Bradshaw.
Master Horace. Hey, Miss Gloria. What brings you to my signal boxing?
We've come about the drop it and cop it test.
I haven't had one of those in years. Not since 1914. I failed it, you know, on account of the tea we had to drink.
I'm referring to the Postal Express collect and deposit.
Kept us fit, you know, for going over the top, you see. Mean the barricades I used to yell.
Where was this?
Paddington. They used to come at you like bats out of hell, those passengers. Of course, you was just a nipper then, Master Horace.
To get back to the Postal Express.
I used to dandle him, you know, Miss Gloria.
Dandle?
Yes, I used to dandle him, didn't I? First on the one knee, uppity-dopty-do, then the other, uppity-dopty. Good practice for playing the spoons.
I'm sure Miss Simpkins doesn't want
when
to know
I
anything.
was away at the war, you know, I wrote to old Obadiah Applewhite to ask how little Horace was keeping. He wrote back and told me he'd grown another foot. I spent the whole war worrying whereabouts.
Did he come to keep you company in your signal box?
Never.
Oh.
No. Tell you what he did, you know.
Yeah?
He used to come and keep me company in my signal box.
Oh, did he?
Well, I didn't have a dog, you see. But I used to put down a bowl of water for him.
But Bradshaw, we are here to acquaint you with the details of the mailbag test.
The vest test. What? I'll have one of them. My present one's got a hole in the elbow here. But I'd really like a pair of them combinations, you know. They used to have a trap door at the back here. So that you could get into them without difficulty.
Bradshaw.
It was all right unless you found someone else there already. But that only ever happened to me once, you know.
Bradshaw, I'm trying to tell you that we must have a clear line on Thursday. All junctions, including those to the sidings, the engine shed, the wash house, and the Warple-Hoxton branch line, to be cut off.
Talking of them, do you know they used to use flags to signal when to change them over, you know? If you saw a flag, over went your points. They lost 14 trains one Empire Day with the local Boy Scouts practicing semaphore. That's why the Kaiser had that trouble with his rarey bird when it died, you know.
What trouble was that, Mr. Bradshaw?
Well, you see, it was 12 foot tall. You see, and no one would bury it. So he put it on a barrow and he pushed it uphill and down dale he went, down dale and uphill he pushed. In the end, after 2,000 miles of barrow pushing, he tipped it off the cliff at John O'Groats.
Ah.
Oh, yes. Just goes to show you, don't it? It's a long, long way to tip a rarey.
We'll leave now, Miss Simpkins.
Hello, Bert.
Oh.
What are you doing?
I'm pretending to be various customers buying railway tickets. I'll get bored with just 6 passengers a day.
Have you applied for any other jobs lately?
Well, there's no point. I'll never get away from here for fear of hurting Dad. Oh, I get ever so depressed sometimes.
Poor Bert. Is there anything I can do to cheer you up?
Such as?
Well, ask me and see if I will.
You don't mean... You don't want to?
Yes?
You wouldn't like to buy a ticket, would you?
No, not at the moment. Sorry. I must go and announce the 3:12.
Bye. A single to Nurdle Crampton, please, handsome young booking clerk. Certainly, madam. 1 ticket coming up. Here you are, madam.
No, thank you. I'm trying to give them up.
Oh, good heavens. It's Phineas Perkins. Why are you wearing a false moustache and dark glasses?
Oh, you recognise me?
Yes.
Oh, aye, well, don't tell anyone I've called.
No.
I'm here, you see, incognito.
Are you?
Thought I'd pop in and see how the old place is keeping. Your dad and I were great friends once.
Really?
In 1926, your dad removed a conker from my ear, using only a hammer and chisel. Now I can help him, you see.
Oh.
This postal express business. What does Potwhistle Alt want with it? I've come with some advice that'll make sure you win the contract.
Advice?
It all depends on the angle you hold it.
Pardon?
Make sure the express picks the mailbag out of the net at the correct angle, and you can't lose. It's one of the tricks of the trade.
Thank you, Mr. Perkins. Oh, Dad will be pleased.
Oh, no, don't tell your father, lad. You do it and give him a surprise.
All right, Mr. Perkins. Oh, but how do I make sure it's at the right angle?
You hold it up.
Hold it up?
Yes. You wait until the last minute and then you hop forward and lift the bag.
Oh, with my hands, you mean?
That's right, lad. It can't fail.
Right, Mr. Perkins. Thanks for the tip.
Now remember, not a word to anyone about my visit here, eh? I move in a mysterious way, you know.
Perhaps your trousers are too tight.
Pardon?
While you're here, you wouldn't like to buy a ticket, would you?
No, thanks. I came by bus.
We don't sell bus tickets.
No, never mind, lad. I'll try elsewhere.
What a lovely day for the Postal Express, Mr. Hepplewhite.
Yes, indeed, Miss Simpkins. Listen to those birds singing. Ah, the beauty of a country railway station. As a child, I used to pick flowers from the embankment, and my mother used to turn them into wine.
Really?
She gave it to the drivers of passing trains to help them on their way.
Oh, that must have pleased them.
Not as much as one would have hoped. I think the fact that she wore my father's boots to press the flowers gave it an unusual flavour.
How will this pick-up work, Mr. Hepplewhite?
The express will deposit a bag in the net and collect ours. It then proceeds to Potwhistle Halt, deposits ours there, and picks up another. The postal inspector aboard will report on each station.
Oh, here come Bert and Percy with our mailbag.
Why, steady with your end, Bert.
I'm carrying both ends.
Well, I'm carrying a label.
What's in the bag, Mr. Hepplewhite?
A selection of leaflets saying, "Come to Sunny past the sidings."
Shall we sling it in a net, sir?
In the bottom net, Valentine. The top net receives our delivery.
Oh, the train's coming, Mr. Hepplewhite.
Good. Brace up, everyone. Do your best.
Yes, Mr. Hepplewhite. But what should we actually do?
Well, I suggest we all give a big cheer. On the count of hip hip, we'll all shout, hooray!
Wilco, Roger and out. You can rely on me, Mr. Hepplewhite.
I sincerely hope so. Don't get too close to that net, lad. You're not insured. Faster sidings. Attention! Stand by. Voices at the ready. Hip hip! Hooray! Well done, everyone. There goes our express delivery.
No, Mr. Hepplewhite. Our mailbag's still there.
What?
Stone me, so it is. What happened? Did you see what went wrong, Bert? Bert?
Good Lord. Where is the boy?
Oh, he picked up something. What is it? Hello, Inspector. What are you doing in our net? Where's the mailbag? He told me to hold it, you see. He said it worked better if I stuck it out. What are we going to do? We'll be at Potwhistle within seconds and we've got nothing to deposit there. I'm terribly sorry. You'll be sorrier still in a moment. Look, get back in that net. What? You are hereby one mailbag for delivery to Potwhistle Halt. Oh, what? Potwhistle Halt coming up. Swing her out. Hello, Mr. Perkins. Did you see the train? All covered in eggs. I think someone's played a yoke on you.
Never, Hepplewhite. Never in all my life have I been so humiliated.
I'm sorry, Father.
Silence! How can I ever again attend the station master's ball? The name of Hepplewhite will forever be associated with you in a GPO net. And to add insult to injury, I've received a bill from the post office for delivering an unstamped package. To wit, one booking hall clerk.
But, Father...
Quiet, Hepplewhite. We can only be thankful that someone switched Phineas Perkins' mailbag for one containing eggs, thus ruining their chances, too.
I reckon whoever that mysterious bag switcher is, he deserves a rise. Do you reckon, sir, that if he revealed himself, he'd get a reward?
He'd get something. Farmer Harris is looking for him with a shotgun. Matter of 400 missing eggs.
Then I suppose his identity will never be known.
What happens now, Mr. Hepplewhite?
As yesterday's test was a fiasco, British Rail will hold another one tomorrow. This one we must win. It's our last chance.
What about nobbling, Mr. Hepplewhite?
There will be no nobbling on our part, Valentine. And to prevent Potwhistle nobbling us, we shall mount a 24-hour guard on our postal apparatus.
Who'll be doing that, Mr. Hepplewhite?
All of us, Hepplewhite. Miss Simpkins and Valentine will be responsible for the rest of the day. You and I will keep watch tonight.
You mean we'll be up all night?
I do.
But if I don't get my 12 hours sleep, I'll be no good for anything tomorrow.
There'll be nothing unusual in that. I propose another safety measure also. An early warning system that will alert us at the first approach of strangers.
You're not putting Bradshaw on the roof again like you did in the war?
I am not, Valentine. We don't want another damp patch on the buffet ceiling.
Damp patch?
He kept spilling his cocoa. No, I plan to harness the highly sensitive faculties of birds.
Eh?
As you know, Constantinople was saved from surprise attack by the warning call of a goose.
But we haven't got a goose, Mr. Hepplewhite.
We have the next best thing.
Clara, the station hen.
Exactly. That hen has a nose like a bloodhound.
Yes, the most peculiar case of crossbreeding I've ever seen.
Clara will be removed from her nest in the engine shed and allowed to roam free. Potwhistle spies will not find us unprepared.
Halt! Who went there?
It's me, you fool.
Oh.
Anything to report?
Yes.
What?
I'm cold.
Oh, never mind. What about Clara?
She's cold too.
What was that?
Clara.
She must have seen something. Find her, quickly.
Here she is, Mr. Hepplewhite.
Where?
On the bookstall.
What's happened?
She's laid an egg.
Is that all? All right. Let us return to our post. Clara, no more false alarms, please. One can cry wolf too often. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Oh, what it is to have an oversensitive hen. Applewhite, whilst we're alone here and can talk freely, is there anything worrying you?
Worrying me, Mr. Hepplewhite?
Call me father, my boy. It's an established relationship. It's not, woman trouble, is it? I know that in the past we've not had the opportunity for a heart-to-heart talk, man to man, father to son. It's possible that you're not fully aware of the... that's to say you may not quite... or possibly not at all. Forgive me if I'm being too outspoken.
Pardon?
I mean, you're not in trouble, are you?
What sort of trouble, Father?
Well, you know, like, by Jove, it is cold, isn't it? Was that Clara just then?
When?
Then?
Yes.
I thought I heard it. Tell me, Bertrand, is everything all right here?
Well, it's a bit cold.
I mean at Parsley Sidings. The railways have always been a vocation to the Hepplewhites. I would hate to feel that you are happy on the railway.
Happy, Father?
Yes. Happy.
Ah, happy.
Yes. Are you happy?
Yes.
Thank you for that reassurance, my boy. Since your mother died, you've been everything to me. Your happiness has been my sole aim.
Yes, Father.
I've scrimped and saved for you, you know. Went without. I don't want you to think that I had it easy.
No, Father.
There have been times when I've walked the platform with a hole in my shoe and thought, I'd better get it repaired. And then I thought, no, that hole in my shoe is for Bertrand.
Thank you, Father.
Oh, I don't expect gratitude, my boy. Your happiness is my reward.
Yes, Father.
You and I should talk to one another more often, Bertrand. Listening to you, opening your heart to me like this has moved me. Helped me to know you better. I feel that we've come closer to one another.
Yes, Father.
Is there anything more you wish to say to me?
Well, yes, Father. I've got a confession to make.
You can tell me, Bertrand, what is it, son?
I just sat on Clara's egg.
You are forgiven, my boy. We all make mistakes.
Thank you, Father.
However, you tend to make more than most. Tomorrow, therefore, I want you to remain in Bradshaw's signal box whilst the postal express passes through, well away from the pickup point.
Oh.
Not that I feel that you're incompetent or a danger to life and limb. Just that I would feel easier if you are nowhere near the scene of the action.
Yes, Father.
Tomorrow is a great day for Parsley Sidings, my boy. If all goes well, we shall take a bold step into the future. Oh, what a beautiful morning. The scent of new mown hay.
Actually, it's my aftershave. Hey, man. Slap this on and things happen to you.
What sort of thing?
Well, half your face goes numb with shock.
Is everything ready, Valentine?
Yes, sir. The label safely on the bag safely in the net, and Bert safely up the signal box. The train's due in, 1 minute?
Good. For once, I have a feeling that nothing can go wrong.
How long has Bert got to stay up there?
Just till the postal express is safely through.
Oh, he looks so miserable standing there with his nose pressed up against the window.
Yeah. So, you don't think that he'll do any damage in the signal box, Mr. Applewhite?
No fear of that, Valentine. Bradshaw has the strictest instructions to allow him nowhere near the levers.
Poor Bert. He tries so hard to please.
Here, Miss Simpkins. Borrow my British Rail handkerchief.
Thank you. He doesn't mean any harm.
I know.
He only wants to be loved.
Wonderful view we have of the Vale from here. Yeah.
Oh, look. Bert's waving at us.
Attention, everyone. The train.
Here, Gloria. Here, watch out with your waving that handkerchief. You don't know where those germs have been.
Be quiet, Valentine. Attention, everyone. Shoulders back. Chests out.
Yes, Mr. Hepplewhite.
Heads up. Faces front. Now then. Hip. What's happened? Where's the train?
It's gone up the Walpole-Hoxton branch line. It's missed us altogether.
But why?
I see, sir. Bert Applewhite strikes again.
What?
When Gloria waved her hanky at him, and old fool Bradshaw thought it was a flag, the signal to switch the points. You don't often hear him say that.
He's fainted.
Oh, well, there's one constellation.
What's that?
Well, going up the Walpole-Hoxton branch line, it'll miss Pot Whistle as well. Not really their day, is it?
Morning, Mr. Hebblewhite. Here's the post.
Thank you, Miss Simpkins. It seems British Rail Postal Services have washed their hands of both ourselves and Potwhistle Holt. That was the station master at Waddle-on-Thrush. He rang to say they're putting their postal point there.
I am sorry, Mr. Hebblewhite.
I know where I'd like to put the point.
Oh, dear.
Let us walk up the platform to that small cabinet, marked in case of emergency break glass.
What's in there?
A bottle of Parsley Siding's own cowslip wine. I shall propose a toast.
Good for you, Mr. Hebblewhite. What will it be?
To next week, Miss Simpkins. It can't fail to be better than this week. And to a bright new future for Parsley Sidings.
Log entry, the Ketch Scarlet Queen, Philip Carney, master. Position 2 degrees 40 minutes north, 125 degrees 37 minutes east. Wind brisk, sky fair. Remarks, departed Sangi Islands after fulfillment of promise. Reason for promise, Kang's treasure and the ghost of Tangulan. It was 3 days out of Basilan, following the final sailing orders from my employer, Kuji Kang, that we raised the smoking island of Tangulan. It's a volcanic island, 8 miles square and uninhabited. Rimmed by coral reef, its active crater grumbling intermittently and spewing out thick, gaseous smoke that hangs continually over the vicinity in a thick cloud. Reminded me of Iwo Jima, the most unpleasant island in my world, with its jumbled heaps of black sand and the complete lack of vegetation. But it was this island that had been drawing us like a magnet over thousands of miles of ocean. It was here that the Scarlet Queen would perform the duty she was originally built to perform. It was here that I'd live up to the agreement I'd signed with Kang over a year ago. I would at last see the historical $10 million treasure lifted out of the scuttled Chinese junk. I'd see it resting finally in the hold of the Scarlet Queen. We stood around the northern tip of the island and saw the last of the sun as it disappeared behind the pall of smoke. The constant evening gloom that it caused added to the feeling of loneliness. That was all right with me because loneliness was just what we needed at this point. The feeling was fine, but it didn't last long enough. My crewman, Nielsen, who was on lookout, broke the spell just as we approached the only reef passage marked on our chart.
Hey, the weir!
What do you got, Nielsen?
There's a wreck full of the reef on the right side of the passage.
Gallagher!
Skipper, I thought we were going to be alone on this blasted
So
island.
did I. Take the wheel and hold away from the pass. I'm going forward to have a look. The hull was a lugger, resting at an easy angle on the coral, a little better than halfway through the pass. Her masts broken, her rigging tangled. There was no sign of life on her. With binoculars, I could see a rude camp on the beach beyond. There was no sign of life there either. The figures of 4 men I saw were sprawled on the sand. And if they were alive, I was sure they'd be on their feet watching us as we came in.
And so Mutual continues The Voyage of the Scarlet Queen, written by Gil Dowd and Bob Tallman, and starring Elliott Lewis. The Scarlet Queen, proudest ship to plow the seas, bound for uncharted adventure. Every week a complete entry in the log, and every week a league further in the strange Voyage of the Scarlet Queen.
And the silent camp on the beach could have meant anything. Tragedy that was coincidence, or a setup by Kang's archenemy Constantino. I left the Queen outside the reef with Gallagher in charge. I put our small boat over the side, and Nielsen and I rowed in through the pass, over the quiet water of the lagoon, stepped out onto the white sand. The volcano rumbled now and then. Huge land crabs scudded away from the bodies as we approached the camp. Told a pretty plain story. 3 of the men lay on some black sand that had been scraped into a couch. The 4th lay a few feet away. Beside him was a medical kit. Just beyond his fingertips was a hypodermic syringe and needle.
What do you make of it, Captain?
Stay back, Nielsen. Whatever they died of wiped out the whole crew, including the doctor.
Maybe it was a plague.
Looks like it.
There was something about this whole island that rubs me the wrong way.
I know what you mean. Come on, let's get back to the ship. An hour later, we'd run the passage into the lagoon and crept along the inside edge of the reef for 200 yards to the unmistakable formation of coral that was our last landmark. We dropped the hook and performed a maneuver that was the culmination of all the other maneuvers on the voyage of the Scarlet Queen. We drifted back, letting out anchor cable, until we reached a spot which, if the chart was correct and no one had beaten us to it, was directly over the hull that guarded Kang's treasure in the lightless, smoke-shadowed water 10 fathoms below. But the feeling of elation was completely foreign to the atmosphere of Tangulan. Gallagher and I stood at the rail, feeling the oppressiveness, the uneasiness, as night settled down over us, and the glow from the volcano's crater flickered weirdly on the cloud of smoke above. The atmosphere was bad enough, but Nielsen's hail made it worse.
Skipper! Captain Carney!
What, Nielsen?
There was a light on the island, sir.
Where?
Yeah, there it is, up there. You see it?
Yeah.
What do you think it is, sir? Oh, there it's gone.
Nielsen, go kill all our lights. Roll out the crew. Tell them to draw for double anchor watches tonight.
Yes, sir.
That's an odd one, Skipper. What do you make of it?
I don't know, Red. Could have been molten lava rolling down from the crater.
What are you handing me? I never heard of lava flowing uphill like that light did.
All right, then, you name it.
You find 4 men dead from the plague on an unpopulated island. So, it must be a ghost.
I hope it is, Red. But just in case it isn't, go break out enough rifles to arm the crew, will you? Gallagher and I split the night so that one of us was on deck all the time with 2 armed crewmen. The shoreside light appeared a few more times, but when the light of morning forced through the smoke cloud, the island was silent and foreboding. But that's all. We had breakfast and turned to on the most important day's work of the voyage.
Hold on, a hand here. We'll rig the gear on the mainmast to handle both the diving platform and the cargo gear.
Nielsen.
Yes, sir.
You and Crowder fall to with me. We'll break out the diving gear and give the pump a try.
Yes, sir. Platform's ready for you, Skipper.
Good. Rig me that watertight flood lamp, Red. There's no sun getting down there. I'll need light.
It's as good as rigged, Skipper.
We stood at the rail and watched the big lamp sink slowly over the side, throwing a hazy green-tinted circle of light out into the clear water. It went down 3 fathoms, 4 fathoms, 5 fathoms, 6. Went down 7 fathoms, 7.5, and I stopped it.
Hold it. Steady as it is on the light.
Steady as it is.
The circle of light had settled over the outline of the junk. It was leaning about 30 degrees to port, its after half and part of the main house crushed into a crevice in the coral. Its movable spars and rigging swinging uneasily in the current.
It's there, Skipper. The whole blasted thing is there.
Sure it's there. Get the suit ready.
Cola, get the suit on the platform. Crowder, stand by the winch. We're ready to go to work.
In 10 minutes, I'd gotten into the suit. The platform had lowered me below the surface. And I was left with no sound but the light bubbling of my escape valve and the faint throb of the air being pumped down to me. There was the first grip in the pit of the stomach that comes with adjusting yourself to a new element. Then the awareness of long shapes that darted into the light from the darkness and left again. Desire to look behind you when you can't. Then the platform reached the level on the sunken deck.
Hold it, Red.
I stepped onto the sharp slant of the slippery deck. The passageway into the main house that held the treasure was blocked by a shoulder of coral. I made my way along its starboard side to a group of 3 portholes that let enough light in to show me the interior. I stood for a good minute, lost in the sight of what lay just a few feet away from me. Lost in the thought of what had led up to this instant, and what the 4 neatly stowed boxes meant in Kang's life, in Gallagher's life, and the crew's lives, and in my life.
Skipper!
It was the crackle of the intercom circuit and Red's voice that brought me back to the fact that it had to be gotten out of the cabin now that we'd found it.
Skipper, what's going on? You're not moving. Skipper, you all right?
Yeah, Red. I'm all right.
What the devil are you doing?
I'm looking at it, Red. It's here.
Well, let's get it started up. I'll really believe it then.
It's not as easy as that. The passageway is jammed shut. We can get it out in one load, but we'll have to cut in through the side.
Well, you better come up then. We'll get the gear ready.
Yeah. And give me plenty of help with my line, Red. This deck doesn't like me. It's spongy with rot.
Well, watch your step. Don't let anything happen now.
I won't, Red. This is the most cautious few feet I've traveled since the first time I walked at all.
Sure. I'll bet you were cute, Skipper.
So they tell me, mate. So they tell me.
With the excitement of being on the verge of recovery, I don't think any of us took time to think of the night before or the ghost of Tangolan. Or at least no one mentioned it. And when it floated in on us, it was so silent that none of us knew. I'd gotten out of the diving suit, and we were grouped on the landed side of the deck, putting lines on the wrecking bars and saws and the rest of the cutting gear, and we didn't hear it until he pushed his head up over the side to see it and spoke.
Who be you?
Hey, it's got Skipper.
Hey, put down the gun. I'll call my volcano down on the lot of you.
Who are you?
I'm poor Sam Brennan.
How'd you get here?
I hid behind a coconut log. Drifted down on you with the tide. Who be you?
Bill Carney, captain of the ship. Was that you on the mountain with the light?
Aye. Can I come aboard, Captain? I have a hunger for Christian food. And I have a word for you.
Bring him aboard. Keep your eye on him. 2 crewmen reached down, took him by each arm, and hauled him aboard. What came up over the rail did justice to the head that topped it. His hair was shaggy and shoulder length, his face matted with wild beard. His body was gaunt, covered by a collection of wet rags that was part cloth, part skin, part seaweed. No makeup man in costume or anywhere could have done as well for the Ben Gunn character out of Treasure Island. We took him to the galley and opened a tin of hash for him. His wild, slightly vacant eyes flashed, and he fell to with a will with his right hand. Held out his left for me to see. The nails were raw, heat blackened.
What be the cause of that, do you reckon?
Now, wait a minute. Let's start farther back than that. Where'd you come from?
Come from? My island. I've been a copra grower there before my volcano overflowed and burned out my groves and everything else. But I've been alone since then. Ben being 10 years ago.
10 years alone on that island?
There's company enough there is. The voices at night. And work enough with the fish to catch and caring for my volcano.
Yeah, sure. Now, about your hands. What happened to them?
Torture. It was hard, cruel to poor Sam Brennan, they was.
Who?
8 of them. That come not 2 days back.
8?
Yeah. Them that run the craft on my reef yonder and laid them poor dead corpses out on the sand.
Well, how do you like that? You mean those men didn't die here?
They come as they are. Poor dead corpses. Poor Sam Brennan saw them laid out, neat like they are. Then I stepped into the midst of the living, my arm raised to friendship, and they all fell upon me, hard cruel. Forced into my fingers heated needles, and even the marks that you see there, see?
Pretty rough. Why did they do it, Sam?
For my wisdom, no less. But I told them little. Only that I saw it sail in and saw no more. They'll get no talk from poor Sam Brennan with cruelty.
So what sail in, Sam?
The Chinese craft. We're lying over now.
There you are, Red. Constantino. How'd they get it, Skipper? How'd they get here before us? How'd they get any place?
I'll tell you that and more. I've been at the side at night, moving here, moving there, covered by the growls of my volcano. They learned of my island from a servant in Basilan.
Sure. We've been nicely suckered. That death camp set up so we wouldn't risk infection to look over the island. They sit there and watch us load the stuff on the Queen. Then what, Sam? Do you know?
This is what I know. There's a fast power yacht in the lagoon round the island on the far side of the pass.
Inside the reef?
Aye.
That's great.
And the wrecked ship at the reef passage is prepared with dynamite, no less, so that when you start to leave, a touch of the finger will topple it into the passage, and you'll be bottled up here at the mercy of that craft which is armed like a man of war. That I know. That poor Sam Brennan heard himself.
Yeah, thanks for the dope, Sam. I take it they have a detonator set up on shore to blow the charge. How many men are with it?
There'll be one alone. Rest be on the boat.
If I took care of the ones on the boat, could you manage the one ashore?
The one? Matched against the Knights and my volcano and me? Oh, we'll manage him, we will.
Good. One more thing, Sam. Will you go to the wreck with me before you go ashore?
Aye. But I'll go the way you come.
Wait a minute, Skipper. That's putting your head right into it, isn't it?
Well, what else, Red? Instead of be bottled up here like fish in a glass tank. Yeah, we ought to be able to cut the wires to that dynamite before they get the idea that it's any more than a curiosity trip. They must have expected that.
I hope you're right, Skipper.
I'll have to take over the diving, Red. You take it. Work as fast as you can. Cut a 6-foot hole into that cabin, then it'll all come out in one load. The gear's all ready.
Okay, Skipper, I'll do my best.
That'll be good enough, Red. And be careful, huh?
Me? You telling me to be careful?
Red was in the suit and on his way down by the time Sam Brennan dropped over the side, and I got myself ready and headed toward the wreck of the small boat. I took with me an explosive detonator rigged for dry cell batteries, a couple of small blocks with well-oiled sheaves, and enough strong light line to reach across the 100 yards between shore and the wreck. I boarded it before Sam arrived, climbed down into the cabin, and started tearing the place to pieces. First 10 minutes of searching weren't enjoyable, but they weren't as bad as the next 20 when I dropped into the hold and still hadn't found the charge. By that time, I'd been there too long for my visit to look like one of curiosity to anyone. When I did find it 7 sticks strong down in the filthy bilge, my heart was pounding, and no one could have convinced me that I didn't rip the wires loose a split second before the man at the detonator had decided to push the plunger home. But when I had them harmless in my hands, even the bilge air smelled as sweet as life itself.
And what be your plan, Captain?
All you have to do is go ashore, Sam, at the end of this line. I've got the detonator set so that when the power yacht hits the line just as she enters the reef passage, this wreck we're on will blow up right in their faces. You understand, Sam?
It has a good sound.
My ship is on one side of the passage. They'll approach from the other. The only thing I want to be sure of is that you'll leave enough room on my side so that the Scarlet Queen can squeeze through.
It's proper vengeance they get from poor Sam Brennan.
That's right. All right, Sam, get going. With the end of the line looped around his tattered waist, he slipped silently into the water, with only his head showing behind his log. He started shoreward toward a spot I'd pointed out to him. May have been minutes, but it seemed like hours before he got there. I watched him secure the line to a jutting rock and then disappear. I heaved my line as taut as I could, reeved it through one of the blocks I'd rigged, made it fast to the detonator so that the slightest tug would blow the charge. Then I went back to the Queen.
Oh, you're back all right, Captain. I was sure glad to see you, sir.
Thanks, Nielsen. Where's Mr. Gallagher?
Oh, he's still submerged.
What's the trouble?
Well, nothing now, sir. He was on his way up. The cargo's aboard, but the chief's line fouled, and we had trouble getting him out of the cabin of the junk. He was down too long. We didn't want to risk Ben's bringing him up faster than we should.
We'll have to speed it up a little, Nielsen. Get on the intercom. Tell him I'm back, and he has to get up as fast as he can.
Yes, sir.
Kohler, stand by the windlass. I'll get the motor started, and we'll inch up on the anchor.
We've got a taut cable, sir. We're over the hook.
Over the hook!
Nelson, where's the diving platform?
4 fathoms down, sir.
We'll have to have more speed. Tell Gallagher to hang on. We'll have to weigh anchor before we get him aboard.
Anchor's away, sir. And coming up.
Anchor's away. Where's the platform, Nielsen?
2.5 fathoms, sir.
We'll have to forget pressure and everything else and get him aboard. Tell him that. Tell him the powerboat expected is in sight about 1,000 yards off our bow.
It was natural that it should show. We'd used too much time. Time enough for anyone to realize that something was wrong and decide to find out what.
Anchor's in sight, sir.
Nielsen!
Platform's in sight, sir.
So I stood there with my hand on the throttle, not able to open it, and watched the Constantino boat push its sleek bow around a point of land. She was moving slowly, still only inquisitive, still unable to see what was going on our decks.
Anchor is up, sir.
Secure the anchor.
It's clear in the water, sir. The platform's clear.
I waited another 30 precious seconds till Gallagher had been swung inboard. Then I opened the throttle. Our wake churned, and as we picked up speed, the Scarlet Queen built a bow wave that curled and gleamed milkily in the gloom. That bow wave was like a starter's gun to the power craft. She built a bigger one of her own as her throttle was open, and she picked up speed that made our pace look like that of a canal scow. I didn't have time for any kind of caution. When we covered half the distance of the pass, I swung toward the island, blind to the reefs or channels or depth, knowing only that I needed that swing to make the narrow lane between the reef and the tripcord that would blow the booby trap in the wreck. By the time I'd made the turn and straightened out for the run, the powerboat had closed to within less than 100 yards of us, and the men aboard her opened up to stop us with every means they had.
Take cover, men! Get down on the deck!
Come after the cockpit, Red! Stand by to take the wheel in case I catch one of these things.
Coming, Skipper!
I crouched as low as I could and watched the series of bullet holes appear in the deck in front of me, and felt the splinters as another burst caught the mizzen boom above me.
Can we do it, Skipper?
I'll know in a minute, Red. We got 25 yards to go. They got about 60.
You're awful close to the reef, Skipper.
Yeah.
The reef, Captain! They're going to sweep the reef!
I eased a scant foot or two towards the line in the middle of the channel. By the time our bow slid by the reaching coral, the powerboat was no more than 25 yards astern. Their range was point blank now, but that wasn't what I was worried about. Snaked out into the pass, felt the first ocean swell lift our bow. Our stern swung to port in the current, and I fought it back with hard helm. Then I just hung on and hoped because there was nothing else to do. Kill the motor. We made it, Red. Well, don't just stand there with your mouth open.
Aye, sir. Stand by to make sail!
The crewmen took a while to pull their eyes away from the mangled wreck that the sleek power yacht had suddenly turned into. Her superstructure was torn to bits. She was afire and settling by the stern in the reef passage. Then they stumbled to their stations.
Starboard sheet! Make sail!
The mainsail climbed into the smoke-dulled sky. The jibs. Then the mizzen. And the Scarlet Queen, as though feeling the success herself, and the lifting of strain and tension, kneeled in thanks to her own gods, and leaned before the winds they sent her in answer to her prayer.
It's aboard, Skipper. It's aboard, and we're out of there.
It's aboard, Red.
Well, you don't sound too happy about it.
Happy? Red, I don't even believe it.
Yeah, I kind of know what you mean, Skipper. After what's led up to it, it don't seem right just to pick it up like some bales of rubber or some sacks of rice and put it in a hole.
Yeah, that's about it. But poor Sam Brennan can have his island. We're out of there.
Yeah, that's a little hard to believe, too. But assuming that we are, where are we back?
Back to Hong Kong to sign over the stuff we don't believe to Kang.
A city, Skipper. Yeah, we've earned a celebration. And I can't think of a better place than Hong Kong.
I don't see any reason for waiting till we get there, if you know what I mean.
I think I do. Drink, Skipper?
You do know? You're psychic. After you, mate. After you. Log entry, the Ketch Scarlet Queen. Miles traveled from San Francisco, 21,308. Wind brisk, sky fair. Carrying full sail. Ship secure for night. Signed, Philip Carney, Master.
Voyage of the Scarlet Queen stars Elliot Lewis as Phil Carney with Ed Max as Gallagher. And tonight featured Bill Johnstone as Sam and William Conrad as Nielsen. Music scored and conducted by Richard Orant. The Scarlet Queen, a Command radio production directed by James Burton, is written by Gil Dowd and Bob Tallman. This program came to you from Hollywood.
On a cold and foggy day in May of 1886, a young doctor named Arthur Conan Doyle set aside his medical practice for the afternoon, took pen in hand, and began to write a mystery novel. The doctor-turned-writer did not realize then what a lasting effect his works would have on literature. Hello, and welcome to 2 more new adventures of Sherlock Holmes. My name is Harry Bartell, and I'm proud to say that I was the announcer on the Sherlock Holmes radio series starring Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce. There are more true facts available about the real life of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle than all the fictitious conjectures on the written life of Sherlock Holmes. Yet it was Conan Doyle's great detective that brought the author worldwide fame. This saddened Conan Doyle, for he was really a romantic writer who wanted desperately to be recognized through his well-written historical romance novels. But it was not to be. The first short story to appear, A Scandal in Bohemia, was what made the name of Sherlock Holmes a household word. After writing but 6 short stories, Conan Doyle tired of the great detective. He wanted out. But Conan Doyle's agents, his book publisher, his reading public, and even the author's own mother continued demanding more and more Sherlock Holmes stories. Conan Doyle gave in, spending most of his time devising mystery plots for the great detective to solve, devoting only small periods of time on his other works, all of which he considered more important than Sherlock Holmes. Within months, the popularity of Sherlock Holmes spread worldwide. Conan Doyle was no fool. He knew which side his bread was buttered on, and he soon gave up his medical practice to spend all his time and energy on writing. Today, anyone can go into a bookstore and ask for a copy of Sherlock Holmes stories. Try to do that with any of Conan Doyle's other great works. Such is the power and attraction of the greatest detective of them all, Sherlock Holmes. Now, let's listen to Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce in one of the original Conan Doyle mysteries, The Adventure of Thor Bridge.
This episode from the life of Sherlock Holmes will be transmitted to our men and women overseas by shortwave and through the worldwide facilities of the Armed Forces Radio Service. Petri Wine brings you Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce in the new adventures of Sherlock Holmes. The Petri family, the family that took time to bring you good wine, invites you to listen to Dr. Watson tell us another exciting adventure he shared with his old friend, that master detective, Sherlock Holmes. And while you're settling back comfortably in your chair, mind if I tell you about something I'd like you to share with me? It's a glass of Petri California Sherry. Of course, most people think of Petri California Sherry as the one wine that's really swell any time, but personally, I like a glass of that Petri Sherry just before dinner. You know, that's the time you're a little on edge. You've just finished your day's work and you're waiting for your dinner, and, well, that's when you want to lean back and take it easy. And boy, that's the time a glass of Petri Sherry tastes like something just too good to be true. Try it. Petri Sherry is the perfect before-dinner wine. And incidentally, if you like your sherry dry, you know, not sweet, then you'll find that Petri Pale Dry Sherry is just made for you. The important thing is the Petri label, because when it says Petri, it always means good wine. And now for our weekly visit with our good friend and host, Dr. Watson. Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening, Mr. Bartell. You're a bit late. I've been keeping some dinner hot for you. Here, pull up your chair and join me.
That's very nice of you. Thanks, Doctor. Are you all set with tonight's story?
Yes, my boy, I'm all set, as you call it. As a matter of fact, I was going over my notes on the case just before you arrived.
Last week, you hinted that a beautiful girl figured prominently in your adventure.
That's quite right, Mr. Bartell. An extremely beautiful girl. In fact, I often used to say to Sherlock Holmes that if I'd been a little younger at the time, I might... Oh, well, you haven't come here to listen to my personal reminiscences. You want to hear the story that I called The Problem of Tor Bridge.
That's what you promised us, Doctor. How did it begin?
On a windy morning in October, in the 1890s it was. As I was dressing, I observed how the last remaining leaves were being whirled away from the solitary plane tree which graced the yard behind our Baker Street house. I descended to breakfast, prepared to find my companion in depressed spirits, for, like all great artists, he was easily impressed by his surroundings. But, to my surprise, he was in an unusually gay mood. As I entered the room, he looked up at me and, with a smile.
My dear fellow, hope you slept well.
Splendidly, thank you, sir.
I'm so glad.
Well, you're very solicitous this morning. I think you must have got a new case. Am I right?
The faculty of deduction is certainly contagious. Yes, I have a new case. After a month of trivialities and stagnation, the wheels revolve once more.
Good. Tell me all about it.
Well, as yet, there isn't much to tell. Have you ever heard of Neil Gibson?
Neil Gibson? Oh, yes. Something to do with gold mining, isn't he?
A great deal to do with it, my dear fellow. In fact, he's considered the greatest mining magnate in the world. About 5 years ago, he bought a large estate in Hampshire. Perhaps you've read of the tragic death of his wife.
Oh, yes, of course, I remember the case now. She was murdered by a jealous governess who was in her employ, wasn't she?
That point will be decided when the lady in question, Grace Dunbar, I believe her name is, comes up for trial at the forthcoming Winchester Assizes. In any case, it's hard for me to see what I can do for my client at this late date.
Your client?
Oh, yes, I forgot I hadn't told you. I'm getting into your involved habit of telling a story backwards. Better read this letter. Came this morning.
Oh, let's have a look. Dear Mr. Sherlock Holmes, Miss Dunbar is innocent. I can't see the finest woman in the world go to her death without doing everything possible to save her. I shall call on you at 10:30 tomorrow morning to discuss the matter. Yours faithfully, Neil Gibson. Good gracious me.
There you have it, Watson. That is the gentleman I await.
Do you know anything about his dead wife?
Only what I've been reading in the papers. Apparently she was past her prime, which was the more unfortunate as this Miss Dunbar, who superintended the education of the two young children, is reputed to be a very attractive young lady.
The eternal triangle, eh? Well, where did the murder take place?
On Gibson's estate in Hampshire. His wife was found in the grounds nearly half a mile from the manor house, late at night, clad in her dinner dress with a shawl over her shoulders and a revolver bullet through her brain.
Any weapon found near her?
No, there were no clues found at the scene of the crime.
What made them suspect the governess?
Well, in the first place, there was some very incriminating evidence. A revolver with one discharged chamber, the caliber corresponding with a bullet in the dead woman's head, was found on the floor in Miss Dunbar's wardrobe.
Oh, was it? Pretty damaging evidence, Holmes.
So the coroner thought. And to make the case even blacker against Miss Dunbar, the dead woman had a note on her making an appointment at that very spot. And the note was signed by the governess.
It seems obvious that the girl's guilty, and the motive's clear. Mr. Gibson would be a great catch for a young girl. Love, fortune, power, all dependent on one life.
Possibly, Watson, but circumstantial evidence can be very misleading at times. There's the gentleman in question, unless I'm very much mistaken, considerably before his time.
I can see him from the window here. Formidable-looking fellow. Must be well over 6 foot tall.
Judging by the way he's wrenching at that doorbell, he's a man with a violent temper.
Mrs. Hudson's opening the door to him now.
Meet him on the stairs, will you, old chap? It'll save Mrs. Hudson a journey.
Sure. Up here, sir. Thank you, Mrs. Hudson. All right.
Are you Mr. Sherlock Holmes?
No, indeed. I'm his colleague, Dr. Watson. Come along in, won't you?
Mr. Neil Gibson, I presume?
That's right. So you're the great Sherlock Holmes, huh?
The adjective is your own, Mr. Gibson. Sit down, won't you? Another way you may speak quite freely in front of Dr. Watson.
Well, I may as well begin by telling you that money means nothing to me in this case. You can burn it if it's any use to you in lighting the truth. Miss Dunbar is innocent, and it's up to you to prove it. Just name your fee.
Mr. Gibson, my professional charges are on a fixed scale. I don't vary them except when I omit them altogether.
Very well. I imagine that you've read the newspaper reports of the coroner's inquest.
Yes, very thoroughly.
I don't see that I can add anything that'll help you. But if there are any questions you'd like to ask, I'll answer them.
Oh, thank you. First, what were the exact relations between you and Miss Dunbar?
I suppose you're within your rights in asking such a question, Mr. Holmes?
We will agree to suppose so, shall we?
Then I can assure you that my relations with Miss Dunbar were always those of an employer towards a young lady with whom he never conversed or even saw, except in the company of his children.
Oh. Rather a busy man, Mr. Gibson, and I've no time or taste for aimless conversation. I wish you good morning.
What the devil do you mean by this, Mr. Holmes?
My dear sir, the case is difficult enough without your giving me false information.
Meaning that I lie, sir?
I was trying to express it as delicately as possible, but if you insist on the word, I won't contradict you.
Why, you confounded...
Don't be noisy, Mr. Gibson. Please don't be noisy. I find that after breakfast, even the smallest argument is unsettling. I suggest that a stroll in the morning air and a little quiet thought will be greatly to your advantage.
I suppose I can't make you take the case, but you've done yourself no good this morning, Mr. Holmes. I've broken stronger men than you. No man ever crossed me and was the better for it.
Good morning, Mr. Gibson. You've a great deal yet to learn.
Well, Marcel Holmes, you were unusually severe with him.
I dislike liars, Watson, and I cannot tolerate arrogance, particularly when it's coupled with great wealth.
Well, how did you know about his relations with the governor?
I didn't. It was pure bluff.
Bluff? Well, it certainly worked. Think he'll come back?
Oh, of course he will. He needs my help too badly. He'll probably change his mind before he's halfway down the stairs. Come in. Mr. Gibson. Just saying to Dr. Watson that I was certain you'd be back.
I've been thinking it over, Mr. Holmes, and I feel that perhaps I was hasty in taking your remarks amiss. Just the same, I can assure you that the relations between Miss Dunbar and me really don't affect this case.
Surely that is for me to decide, Mr. Gibson.
You see, Mr. Gibson, my friend is like a doctor. He wants every symptom before he can give his diagnosis.
Fire away, Mr. Holmes. What is it you want to know?
The truth.
I can give it to you in very few words. To begin with, I met my wife when I was gold mining in Brazil.
Your wife was Brazilian by birth, wasn't she, sir?
Yes, Doctor, and very beautiful. Well, to make a long story short, I fell in love and married her and brought her to England. After a few years, I realized that we had nothing, absolutely nothing in common.
And then I suppose this young governess, Miss Dunbar, arrived on the scene.
That's right, Mr. Holmes. Well, the story should be obvious to you from there.
You fell in love with this girl, I suppose, sir?
Who could help it?
Did you suggest marriage to her?
Yes. Though I knew that my wife would never divorce me.
I see. Then you made an utterly insincere proposition to her.
Now, look here, Mr. Holmes. I came to you on a question of evidence, not of morals. I'm not asking for your criticism.
It's only the young lady's sake that forces me to touch your case at all. Now, tell me, sir, what is your own opinion as to Miss Dunbar's guilt?
It's very black against her. I can't deny that. One explanation of the tragedy did come into my head, Mr. Holmes. I give it to you for what it's worth.
Pray continue, Mr. Gibson.
My wife was bitterly jealous. She was half crazy with hatred. She might have planned to murder Miss Dunbar, or we'll say to threaten the girl with a revolver and so frighten her into leaving us. There might have been a struggle in which the gun exploded and gone off and shot my wife, who was holding it.
Well, that possibility has already occurred to me. It's the only obvious alternative to deliberate murder.
The revolver, Holmes, was found on the floor of the governess's wardrobe.
Now, Mr. Gibson, I should like to examine your house and the scene of the murder as soon as possible.
Certainly, Mr. Holmes. Sergeant Coventry of the local police is still down there. He'll give you any help you may need.
Excellent. Watson, old fellow, out with the timetable. We're catching the next fast train to Winchester.
So if I have to have someone else on the case, I'd rather have you, Mr. Holmes. The yard gets called in, then we local police loses all credit for success. Generally gets blamed for the failures. Now I've heard that you play straight.
I don't appear in the matter at all, Sergeant Coventry. If I can clear it up, I don't ask to even have my name mentioned.
Well, that's handsome of you, I'm sure. And I know Your friend Dr. Watson can be trusted, too.
Oh, don't worry, my dear fellow. We won't steal any of your thunder.
Well, that's nice and friendly of you, Doctor. Well, come on, gentlemen. I'll walk you down to the bridge. That's where we found Mrs. Gibson's body. It's not far from the house here.
Well, I must say, Mr. Gibson has a beautiful estate. It must be 60 or 70 acres.
Oh, nearly twice that, Doctor. The woods back of the house there belongs to him, too. Mr. Holmes.
Yes, Sergeant?
There's a question I'd like to ask you. A question I wouldn't ask anyone else.
Then please ask it.
Don't you think there might be a case against Mr. Gibson himself, sir?
I've been considering that possibility.
That there Miss Dunbar's a bit of all right. If you ask me, he wanted his wife out of the way, and the pistol she was shot with was his pistol, you know.
Oh, was that fact proven?
Yes, Doctor. It was one of a pair that he had.
One of a pair? Where's the other?
Well, Mr. Gibson has a lot of firearms. We never quite matched that particular pistol, but the box was made for two.
Well, if it was one of a pair, surely you'd be able to match it.
Well, we have them all laid out at the house if you want to look them over.
And we'll do that later. This, I presume, is Tor Bridge.
That's right, sir. Found Mrs. Gibson's body lying right here at the approach to the bridge.
I see. I gathered from the newspaper reports that the shot was fired at very close quarters.
Yes, sir, very close.
Near the right temple, wasn't it?
Just behind it, sir.
How did the body lie, Sergeant?
Oh, on its back, Doctor. No trace of a struggle, no marks, no weapon. The note from Miss Dunbar was clutched in her left hand.
Clutched, you say?
Yes, sir. We could hardly open the fingers to get at it.
Ah, that's of greatest importance. It excludes the idea that anyone could have placed the note there after death in order to furnish a false clue.
What did the note say, Sergeant?
Little enough, Doctor. It just said, I will be at Tor Bridge at 9 o'clock, and it was signed Grace Dunbar.
Miss Dunbar admit writing it?
Oh, yes, sir.
What was her explanation?
She wouldn't say nothing. Said she was saving her defense for the trial.
Yes, it seems odd that Mrs. Gibson was still clutching that note.
Seems perfectly natural to me.
Oh, come now, old fellow. Argue the thing out logically. If the letter is genuine, it was certainly received sometime before the tragedy, say an hour or two. Why then was the dead woman still clasping it in her left hand? Why should she carry it so carefully? She certainly didn't need to refer to the note at all at the interview. Doesn't it strike you as rather strange?
Well, now you put it that way, it does seem a little peculiar.
Hello. Did you notice this, Sergeant?
Oh, you mean that chip out of that stone on the underside of the parapet of the bridge, sir? Yes, I noticed it. Didn't think nothing of it, though.
It's a very large chip.
Yes, but it's been done recently. Notice how the stonework is white just here. It took some violence to do that. Hand me your cane, Watson, will you?
Here you are, Bullet.
Thanks. Yes. It's a hard knock. And in a curious place, too.
But it's 15 feet from where we found the body, Mr. Dow.
Yes, Holmes, I don't see how it could have any connection with Mrs. Gibson's murder.
Possibly it hasn't. But it's a point worth noting. There were no footprints, you say, Sergeant?
None, Mr. Holmes. The ground was as hard as iron. It's been a very dry summer, and we haven't had any rain to speak
Yes,
of this
pity.
year.
Well, Sergeant, I'm much obliged to you, and now I think we'll get back to the house.
Right. Cesar will show you where the firearms are, sir.
Oh, who is Cesar?
Oh, funny kind of a bloke. Brazilian he is.
Brazilian, eh? Like Mrs. Gibson?
Yes, Mr. Holmes. Comes from the same town that she does, as a matter of fact. Something very fishy about him, if you ask me. Now, if you'll excuse me, gentlemen, I'm going to take a little stroll around the grounds. You started me on a new train of thought in this case, Mr. Holmes.
Oh, I'm delighted, Sergeant. I'll get back to the house. I see. And these are all the firearms in Mr. Gibson's possession, eh, Cesar?
Except for the revolver that is missing from the case. Yes, so I say I see him.
I've never seen such a collection of guns and revolvers in my life.
Mr. Gibson had many enemies, senor. He always sleep with a loaded pistol beside his bed. She's a man of great violence. There have been times when all of us were afraid of him.
Did you ever witness physical violence towards Mrs. Gibson?
No, senor. I cannot say that I have. But I have heard him say many terrible things to her. She would taunt her in front of we servants. I have heard him do it many times.
Thank you, Cesar. That will be all.
Muito bem, senor.
You know, Holmes, I still think the case against Miss Dunbar looks very black.
I should agree with you if it were not for one fact. The finding of the revolver in her wardrobe.
On the soul, Holmes, that seems to me the strongest evidence of all.
I think not, old chap.
Huh?
We must look for consistency. Where there is a want of it, We must suspect deception.
I don't quite follow you.
Suppose for a moment that we visualize you in the character of a woman who, in cold, premeditated fashion, is about to murder a rival. You've planned it. A note has been written. The victim has come. You have a weapon. The crime is well done. It has been workmanlike and complete. You mean to tell me that after carrying out so crafty a crime, you'd be so stupid as to forget to fling the incriminating revolver to the bottom of the stream? Or perhaps in the dense reeds that border it? Would you carefully carry it home and put it in the first place that would be searched? Your wardrobe?
Well, perhaps in the excitement of the moment one...
No, my dear chap, I won't admit that's even possible. When a crime is coolly premeditated, then the means of covering it are coolly premeditated also.
Well, then if Miss Dunbar didn't shoot Mrs. Gibson, who the devil did?
I hope I can give you the answer to that question, Watson, when we've made one further visit.
Oh, Lord. Where are we going now?
To prison, old chap.
Prison?
Yes, we're going to Winchester Prison to call on Miss Dunbar. I'm certain that the key to this strange mystery lies in her hands.
You'll hear the rest of Dr. Watson's story in just a few seconds. Just time enough for me to remind you that the easiest way to make good food taste better is to serve that good food with a good Petri wine. If you like a red wine, well, you want a Petri California Burgundy. If you'd rather have a white wine, then you want a Petri California Sauterne. But red or white, Petri Burgundy or Petri Sauterne, you're choosing a dinner wine that's sure to turn a simple meal into a feast. Your whole family and all your friends will love Petri, the wine that makes good food taste better. And now back to Dr. Watson and tonight's Sherlock Holmes adventure, The Problem of Tor Bridge. Well, Doctor, did you go to Winchester Prison and see Miss Dunbar?
We did, Mr. Bartell. An hour later, found the two of us sitting in a dank and gloomy cell, talking to one of the most beautiful girls that I've ever seen. Her bright, flashing eyes and her air of quiet confidence seemed sadly out of place in such a setting. Holmes spoke to her quietly.
Tell us of your true relations with the dead woman.
She hated me, Mr. Holmes. She hated me with all the passion of her distorted mind.
Please tell us exactly what happened on the evening of Mrs. Gibson's death.
Well, I received a note from her in the morning. A note imploring me to meet her at the bridge after dinner that night. She said she had something important to say to me.
Did you keep that note, Miss Dunbar?
No, Doctor. She asked me to destroy the note, so I burned it in the schoolroom grate. I saw no reason for such secrecy, but, well, I did as she asked.
And yet she kept your reply very carefully. It's interesting. Tell me what happened when you met her that night.
When I reached the bridge, she was waiting for me. I won't tell you what she said, but she poured out her whole wild fury in burning, horrible words. I didn't answer. I couldn't. It was dreadful even to look at her. She was like an insane woman, standing there screaming disgusting insults at me. I put my hands to my ears and rushed away.
Where was she standing when you left her?
Within a few yards of the spot where her body was found later.
And yet, presuming she met her death shortly after you left her, you heard no shot.
No, I heard nothing. But I was so upset, Mr. Holmes, that I rushed straight back to my room.
Did you leave it again that night?
Yes. When the alarm came that Mrs. Gibson was dead, I ran out with the others.
Did you see Mr. Gibson?
Yes, Doctor. He had just returned from the bridge when I saw him. He had sent for the doctor and the police.
This pistol that you found in your room, had you ever seen it before?
Never, Mr. Holmes, I swear it.
When was it found, Miss Dunbar?
Next morning, when the police made their search. It was on the floor of my wardrobe where I keep my shoes.
You had no idea how long it had been there?
Well, it hadn't been there the morning before.
How do you know?
Because I had tidied up the wardrobe that day.
I see. Then someone must have come into your room and placed the pistol there in order to incriminate you.
I'm certain of it.
When could they have done that?
Well, it could have been at meal times, or when I was in the schoolroom with the children.
Yes. Miss Dunbar, on examining the scene of Mrs. Gibson's death, I noticed that a piece of stonework on the underside of the parapet of the bridge had been broken away. Can you suggest any possible explanation for that?
Oh, surely it must have been a mere coincidence, Mr. Holmes.
Possibly. But why should it appear at the very time of the tragedy and at the very place? Could it possibly be that... Why, yes, of course. Idiot. Why didn't I think of it before? Come along, Watson.
Where are we going, Holmes?
Back to Thor Bridge, old fellow. As fast as we can get there.
What have you found out, Mr. Holmes?
The answer to this mystery, I hope, my dear young lady. You will get news before the day is out. And meanwhile, take my assurance that the clouds are lifting and that the light of truth is breaking through.
Well, Mr. Holmes, you're soon back here. What have you found out?
Sit down a few moments. You got my message?
Oh, yes, sir. Here you are. Ball of twine. What you want it for, I can't imagine.
You'll soon see, Sergeant. Watson, I have some recollection that you usually go armed on these excursions of ours.
Yes, I'm carrying my revolver. Why?
Give it to me, old chap, will you? Thanks. I believe your revolver may have a very intimate connection with the mystery we're investigating.
You're joking.
Now, Watson, I'm very serious. We have a test to make. If the test is successful, Miss Dunbar will be free before nightfall, and the test will depend on the conduct of this revolver of yours. Yes, I'll take the precaution of unloading it. There we are. Now, Sergeant, the ball of twine, please.
Wish I knew what you was up to, sir.
I tie one end of the twine like this to the handle of the revolver. So. Sergeant, see if you can find me a heavy stone, will you?
Oh, right, you are, sir.
Holmes, what are you doing?
Trying to reconstruct the killing of Mrs. Gibson. But you've seen me miss the mark before, Watson. I have an instinct for such things, and yet it has sometimes played me false. It seemed a certainty when it first flashed across my mind in Miss Dunbar's cell. But one drawback of an active mind is that one can always conceive alternative explanations which would make our scent a false one. And yet, oh well, we can but try.
Here's a nice stone, Mr. Holmes.
Thank you, Sergeant.
Yes,
now,
sir.
I tie the other end of the twine to the stone. Wait a minute. Like that. Splendid. Sergeant, will you please take this stone and stretch the twine across the parapet of the bridge there, so that the stone will swing just clear of the water on the other side of the bridge?
Right, you are, sir.
I'll stand on the spot where Mrs. Gibson's body was found. That's it, Sergeant. Over the parapet.
How's that, Mr. Holmes? The stone swinging about 8 feet above the water.
Splendid. Now, Watson, watch closely. I raise the revolver to my head.
Careful, Holmes, careful.
Don't worry, old chap, it's not loaded. Now, let us imagine I am the late Mrs. Gibson. I raise the revolver to my head and fire it. Instantly, my fingers release their grip and... There's your answer, Watson.
Great Scott, the revolver flashed back out of your hand, struck the parapet of the bridge, and then the weight of the stone flipped it over into the water.
Was there ever a more exact demonstration? Come on, old fellow.
You're a bloomin' magician, Mr. Holmes. That's what you are. A bloomin' magician.
Look at that. Observe the second chip on the stonework of the parapet here. Same size as the first.
And the murder of Mrs. Gibson...
Wasn't murder at all. It was suicide.
What?
We can follow the various steps quite clearly. A note was extracted very cleverly from Miss Dunbar, a note which made it appear that she had chosen the scene of the crime. Mrs. Gibson, in her anxiety that the note should be discovered, somewhat overdid it by holding it in her hand to the last. That alone should have excited my suspicions earlier than it did.
So she stole one of her husband's revolvers
and planted the other one in Miss Dunbar's wardrobe.
Exactly. After discharging one of the cartridges, which you could easily do in the woods without attracting suspicion, she then went down to the bridge, where she contrived this exceedingly ingenious method of getting rid of her weapon. When Miss Dunbar appeared, she used her last breath in pouring out her hatred, and then, when the girl had left, carried out her terrible purpose.
Then the missing revolver...
You'll find it with the aid of a grappling hook at the bottom of the stream, and also the stone and the string, with which this vindictive woman attempted to disguise her own crime and fasten a charge of murder on an innocent victim.
Yes, Sergeant, and don't forget while you're at it that my revolver's down there, too.
No, don't worry, Doctor. I'll get some grappling hooks right away.
I must say, Holmes, you've solved this case brilliantly. Quite brilliantly.
I disagree, old chap. And I fear that you will not improve my reputation by adding the case of the Tor Bridge mystery to your annals.
Oh, nonsense, but that's ridiculous.
Oh, no, it isn't, old boy. I've been sluggish in my mind and wanting in that mixture of imagination and reality, which is the very basis of my art. I confess that the chip in the stonework was a sufficient clue to suggest the true solution, and I blame myself for not having attained it sooner.
Well, Holmes, personally, I agree with the sergeant's opinion of you.
Oh? What was that, old fellow?
You're a blooming magician, Mr. Holmes. That's what you are, a blooming magician.
Well, Doctor, Holmes really was a magician. That is, if you did find Mrs. Gibson's revolver and your own in the string.
We found them all right. You don't think I'll tell you the story otherwise, do you? What do you take me for, anyway?
Well, now that you ask, I'll tell you. I take you for a very charming gentleman, a wonderful storyteller, and a fine host.
Oh, that's very nice. Really,
Well, you are a gentleman of the old school. And you do tell a fine story.
You flatter me, you...
And you are a perfect host. That meal we had tonight was wonderful.
Oh, it was, eh?
And, that wine, what kind was it?
It was Petri wine, and you know it. And I should have known that you were leading up to something. Mr. Bartell, you should be ashamed of yourself. You will do anything to get a chance to talk about Petri wine. Oh, I can't say that I blame you.
Well, honestly, Doctor, I meant everything I said. But you don't really want me to stop talking about Petri wine, do you? After all, it's worth talking about, isn't it? What other wine is made with the loving care that goes into Petri wine? Don't forget, Petri wine is made by the Petri family. Winemaking is their business. Why, they've been making wine for generations, handing down from father to son, all their skill and knowledge and experience. You can be sure the Petri family really knows plenty about the fine art of turning luscious grapes into delicious wine. That's why, whether you want a wine for before dinner, with dinner, or for any time, you can't go wrong with a Petri wine, because Petri took time to bring you good wine. And now, Dr. Watson, what new story are you planning to tell us next week?
Well, next week, Mr. Bartell, I'm going to tell an adventure that Holmes and I had amid the oriental magnificence of a Maharaja's palace in India.
India? Sounds intriguing. What were you and Sherlock Holmes doing out there, Doctor?
Well, we'll have to wait till next week for the answer to that question, my boy. But I can tell you that it was one of the weirdest problems that we ever had to solve. I call the story The Vanishing Elephant.
Tonight's Sherlock Holmes adventure is written by Dennis Green and Anthony Boucher and is adapted from the Sir Arthur Conan Doyle story, The Problem of Tor Bridge. Mr. Rathbone appears through the courtesy of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer and Mr. Bruce through the courtesy of Universal Pictures, where they are now starring in the Sherlock Holmes series. The Petri Wine Company of San Francisco, California, invites you to tune in again next week, same time, same station.
Oh, the Petri family took the time to bring you such good wine. So when you eat and when you cook, remember Petri wine.
To make good food taste better, remember...
Petri wine.
This is Harry Bartell saying goodnight for the Petri family. Sherlock Holmes comes to you from our Hollywood studios. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Of course, many of you are already familiar with this intriguing mystery story, but this is the first time in over 40 years that Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce have had the pleasure of once again entertaining you with Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's original story, The Adventure of Tor Bridge. This is Harry Bartell. I'll be right back with more notes on Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and another new adventure of Sherlock Holmes.
There's music in the air when the infant morn is nigh, and faintest blush is seen on the bright and laughing sky.
Down our way, a group of folks gather for some real old-fashioned singing and visiting. Their little town is just about the best you can find, because it's your town. And in their everyday living, their thoughts and dreams are the same as yours. This is the evening for singing practice, and it's to be held as usual in the parlor of Eli and Jenny Jenkins. But right now, Ben Potts, bass member of the singing group, is in his feed store, and Patience Peavoy rushes in to tell him something that just can't wait till evening.
Ben, have you heard the news?
Huh? Oh, hello, Patience. I ain't heard no good news, and I don't want to hear no bad news.
You'll want to hear this, all right. What's the worst thing you could imagine?
Let me see now. Maybe you're losing your voice?
Oh, Ben, wouldn't that really be such bad news to you?
Nope, not really.
Well, this is worse than that. Pete Baxter is organizing another singing group.
Huh? What do you mean?
I mean that every night this week, Lucy Masters and Dan Calvin and a lot of others have been meeting at Pete's house and practicing singing.
Well, gee, Hossabit. Don't they know that we are the singing group down our way?
That's just what I'd like to tell them. I'd say, Pete, you don't never need to think you can take the place of Eli Jenkins and his singing group.
That's what I'd say, too.
Why, the very idea, the young whippersnapper. Pete ain't even born under the right sign to lead singing. Now, if he was born under Taurus like Eli...
It don't matter none if he was born under the Brooklyn Bridge. Eli is still the leader of the only rightful singing group down our way.
Why, Ben, the way you and Eli are always scrapping, I didn't think you'd feel so wrought up about it.
The old coot, I love him like a brother, but I don't want him to know it. Now, Patience, we got to do something about this here new singing group, even if it splits the town wide open.
Looks pretty serious, this news that another singing group is being organized. It's almost time for the old group to meet in Eli Jenkins' parlor. And it seems that word of the new group has already leaked out to Eli and Jenny.
Are you sure you heard right, Eli? I just can't believe it.
Of course I heard right, Ma. It was Lucy Masters getting her weekly grocery supply, and then Maud Sparks joined her, and they didn't know I could hear what they was talking about.
And they mentioned Pete Baxter and his singing group?
Sure they did. And then when I walked up toward them, they stopped and got them sweet smiles on their faces that women always get when they've been talking about you.
But I thought you said they was talking about Pete.
Well, tarnation, Jenny, it was about singing, and anything about singing down our way is indirectly something about me.
Yeah, that's right, Pa. You've been in charge of all that for close on to 16 years now. All the weddings and sociables and the charity bazaars.
We even gone to the county fair for 5 years now. It's been mostly the same old ones during all that time.
There they are now, Pa.
Yep, coming for practice, just like they done all these years. Now, listen, Jenny, don't you say nothing about what we heard. Can't let them know just yet. Not till after we've done our practicing, anyway. Evening, folks. Come on in.
Howdy, Eli.
Are we early?
Not at all. Eli and me had just been sitting here talking about, well, just talking.
Yep, just like me and Ben a little while ago. We was talking about...
Patience. Won't you have a chair?
I'd rather have the Sophie with you, Ben.
Well, come on over then, Carn it.
You always say the sweetest things.
Is that Alice and Cliff cutting across the lot?
Looks like him. Just leave the door ajar, Pa.
Patience. Don't you say nothing to Eli about Pete's new singing group. We gotta think how to mention it.
Well, I just thought I'd drop it casual-like.
Yes, you drop it all right, casual like a ton of dynamite.
How's the feed store getting on, Ben?
Oh, fine. I had the post office window moved away to the back today so that now when anybody comes in for a letter, they have to detour through the corn and chicken mash department. I hopes to sell more feed that way.
Well, for Pete's sake, you sell all the farmers in the county feed to their livestock. Do you expect them to start feeding it to their wives, too, just to increase your business?
Come on in, Cliff and Alice. The door's open.
Hello, everybody.
Are we late?
In all the time we've been holding singing practice, I ain't never heard nothing but are we early or are we late? Don't it never occur to nobody to look at their watches and see if maybe once in a while they can't be right on time?
Eli.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just joking. Settle down. We'll get practicing right away.
You shouldn't have said a thing like that.
Oh, I didn't mean nothing by it, Ma.
Ben, I learned of something a few minutes before I left the station that surely surprised me.
I know, we all knows, but all of us, except Eli.
I think it's terrible. After all the work and effort Mr. Jenkins has put into this group.
My stars, so do I. Why, when I think... Eli, I was saying, when I think of...
Think of what, Patience?
When I think of, how nice the weather's been recently.
Oh, yeah.
Well, when I think of it, I just think of it.
We've been talking more and saying less this evening. Let's see if we can't do better with our singing. The song for the Young People's Society meeting first now. Come to think of it, Jenny, Pete Baxter is chairman of the society. Here we are practicing for entertainment for him.
Shh, Pa, they'll hear you. All right, now, come on, gather round, everybody.
All right, everybody.
Oh, Genevieve, sweet Genevieve, the days may come, the days
waking thoughts are full of thee. Thy glance is in the starry beam that falls along the summer scene.
Oh, Genevieve, sweet Genevieve, the days may come, the days may go, but still the hands from every wind of blissful dreams of
Went mighty well, like it always does.
Eli, that is, we, got something to tell you.
I don't know what it is, Ben, but it'll have to wait till after I get something off my mind, something that's been bothering me.
What if you just let me talk for a minute? I could tell you something of vital importance.
It couldn't be half as important as what I got to say,
Can't you
goat.
never stop for a second and let somebody else get a word in? Here I've been a-thinking for an hour just what to say to you, and when it finally comes to me, you have to go up blabbing your mouth and won't let me get the word out.
I'm blabbing. Since the minute you put them big feet in my door, that mouth of yours has been wagging like a horse's in a hayfield.
Boys, please.
My stars, you get so het up.
Ben, did you by chance want to tell Eli about Pete Baxter's new singing group?
Yeah.
And Eli, is that what you wanted to tell Ben?
Yeah.
You see how simple it is. No temper, no tantrum, just talk.
At least 10 points of my high blood pressure is counting him.
You ain't added any years onto my life with that disposition of yours.
Now, we all know that we all know.
Yes, Mrs. Jenkins. The word has surely gotten around.
I heard it on my way home from school. It seems they've been rehearsing every night this week.
Yeah, they're sure in a hurry to take over here.
Don't talk like that, Eli. You know that nobody can ever take over what your singing group does.
I can't say that now, Jenny. Nothing's certain except death, and Ben's taking more of them darn pills.
Well, we can't admit defeat.
I should say not. Why, those in charge of entertainment always call on you, Mr. Jenkins.
Well, they used to, but you can't tell how it'll be now. After all, Pete Baxter is young, and he went up to Shelby Junction and took some piano lessons several years back.
Well, if that's what you're thinking, that his group will sing in a more modern style, we can change.
And why should you change? The folks around here love the singing you do.
That's what I say. If Pete Baxter is organizing a modern group, they surely won't be very popular.
Well, it's nice of you to say that, kids. I hope you're right. Why don't you practice your duet, and we'll go on just like nothing had happened.
We're ready, Mr. Jenkins.
Let me see. That's Roses of Picardy.
That's right.
She's watching by the poplars, coronet with the sea blue eyes. She's watching and longing and waiting where the long white roadway lies.
And the song stirs in the silence as the wind in the boughs above. She listens and starts and trembles. Is the first little song of love. Roses are shining in Picardy, in the hush of the silvery dew. Roses are flowering in Picardy, but there's never a rose like you. And the roses will die with the summertime, and the roads may be far apart, but there's one rose that dies not in Picardy. 'Tis the rose that I keep in my heart. Roses are shining in Picardy, in the hush of the sea.
Roses are flowering in Piccadilly, but there's never a rose like you. And the roses will die with the summertime, and our roads may be far apart, but there's one rose that dies not in Piccadilly. Here's the rose that I keep in my
While that there singing was going on, I had an inspiration. I know what to do about Pete Baxter's singing group.
You do, Patience?
What is it?
Don't know how I ever thought of anything so downright clever. I'll go to Pete like I wanted to join him.
You mean sing with his group?
Well, that's what I'll pretend. But when the big moment comes, I'll deliberately go flat and make it sound awful.
It goes flat whether it's deliberate or not, so it shouldn't be no effort.
No, Patience. I couldn't let you do that. Thanks anyway.
Well, even though I ain't sung with this here group since Alice come to town, I still feels loyal to 'em.
It's been mighty nice accompanying you all this time, folks. I guess I never knew how much I enjoyed it before.
Shucks, Jenny, it's been more fun for us than it ever could have been for you, and, well...
The four of us have been together so long, kids. Guess it's hard for you to know how we feel.
Of course we understand.
We feel the same way, even if we haven't been with you for all the years.
We may as well divide up the music and things. Here, Ben, you take the music rack. You made it for us.
I don't want it, Jenny. I guess I better take a pill.
But it isn't 8 o'clock yet.
I'll take one early. Maybe it'll make me feel better.
This here's enough to make me doubt my astrology. According to the stars, this was to be a bright, happy day for all of us.
Well, it's going to be for Ben. Ben, you're going to sing that bass solo you've been trying to work in these 16 years.
No, I don't feel much in the mood to sing. But a performer ain't supposed to consider them things, I suppose.
No, sir. We've been troopers, and we never let folks down. And if this here is to be the last songs we ever sing down our way, we'll do it with the same talent. Though maybe the spirit ain't going to be quite the same. So, sing, Ben. Go ahead and sing your song. All right, Ma, sound the chord.
Storm is the night and the waves roll high. Bravely the ship doth ride. Hark how the lighthouse bell's solemn cry rings o'er the solemn tide. There on the deck see two lovers stand, heart to heart beating and hand in hand. Though death be near, she knows no fear, while at her side stands one of almost dear. Loudly the bell in the old tower rings, bidding us list to the warning it brings. Sailor, take care. Sailor, beware. Danger is near thee. Beware. Beware.
mighty fine. I was just thinking it's going to leave us with lots of free evenings if there's to be no more singing practicing.
Yep, sure will. What do men do with free evenings in the big city, Kate?
Nothing that would be practical or possible down our way, I'm afraid.
I wonder who that is.
Yeah, probably somebody phoning condolences.
Oh, Eli, it ain't that bad.
It is, too. It's awful.
Yeah, life's got to go on, Ma. Answer the phone.
Hello? Who? All right. It's for you, Eli.
I guess I can take the call. Hello?
Who was it?
I don't know.
Pete Baxter.
Is that Pete on the wire?
Oh, that young whippersnapper. Why, the nerve of him a-calling here.
What does he want?
Shh, I can't hear nothing. What was that, Pete? You want to drop in for a visit? Why,
You can't be rude to the boy, Eli.
After what he's done to us.
Why does he want to come, do you suppose?
Well, yes, Pete, I guess it'll be all right, but we won't be staying up much longer. It'll have to be pretty quick. Oh, you're right down at the drugstore. Just a step away, then.
He's probably down there celebrating his victory with a double malted.
Yeah, all right. Well, see you in a minute. Now, what in tarnation do you suppose he's up to?
Suppose it's safe to let him in?
Maybe you better get out your sheriff's gun, Eli.
Why, that's an awful way to be talking, Patience. All the boy's done is organize another singing group.
All he's done. My stars, ain't that enough?
Do you think it would be a good idea if we were to talk to him, reason with him?
Sure. Tell him that Eli has devoted a good part of his life to this group and point out that it would be unfair for him to try to step in now.
No, sir. You can't do that. I won't have nobody putting out such an appeal for me.
There he is now.
Well, this is the test, folks. I have to meet it somehow. All right, Ma, let him in.
Evening, Pete.
Hello, Miss Jenkins.
Won't you come in?
Thanks. Oh, hello, everybody.
Oh, howdy, Pete. Have a chair.
Say, it's really grand to see you all here. This is really my idea of a nice evening. Everyone's sitting around talking about pleasant things.
Yeah.
Maybe this sounds kind of silly, but, from the minute I stepped in this door, I could feel such a warm little glow over me. Kind of a welcome into this parlor.
You could.
Well, sure. It's grand that there are folks like you down our way.
It's nice to have you drop in, even though we didn't exactly expect it.
Well, I won't stay for a minute. I just wanted to extend an invitation to all of you.
To us?
Huh? Yes, to come over to my house for a little while Friday evening after the Young People's Society meeting.
Well, that's nice of you, Pete.
You'll be at the meeting anyway singing, and if it's late, you can stay only a few minutes. But I'd like awfully well to have you stop by.
Why, of course we'll come, Pete.
Pete, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm hesitating because of something I heard today.
Why, what's that, Mr. Jenkins?
Go on and tell him the whole thing, Eli. Go on.
Well, I heard, Pete, that you're organizing a singing group.
And all the rest of us heard the same thing.
Yeah.
Why, how did you hear that?
Don't matter none where we heard it. We wants to know, is it true?
After all the years old Eli has put in on his singing group, and then you try to chisel in with your new singing group.
Hey, is it true, Pete?
Well, yes, it's true. But I surely didn't expect for you to find it out yet.
That much we could have guessed.
Now, Patience. Haven't you anything to say, boy?
No, I guess not. See, it's all spoiled now.
What do you mean? What's all spoiled?
Well, the affair next Friday evening.
Well, what's that got to do?
For weeks we've been planning it. All of us at the society. We wanted it to be a surprise. But I guess when you live in a little town like this, there's no such thing as a surprise.
What in thunderation are you talking about, Pete?
Well, when you all come by my house next Friday evening, as I hope you will, we wanted to serenade you.
Huh?
Well, I guess everybody in this town feels that you've done so much singing for so many years, and we all feel so indebted that, well, we just wanted to do this for you.
Gee, Hossabert, what do you think of that?
Yeah. We aren't going to be any permanent singing group. We've just organized for this one evening to give you a party. I'm sorry if you misunderstood. We thought it'd be kind of nice.
Well, then it will be, son. I'm the biggest dead-blasted old fool in 19 counties. Here all the time you was trying to plan a party for us, eh? Ain't that nice, folks?
It's just about the nicest thing I could ever imagine hearing. Yeah. Pete, it's just grand.
Gee, it's nothing really. I'm only sorry the surprise was spoiled. We'll have a good time anyway.
You bet we will.
Well, I must be running along now. I've had a job on my hands getting a singing group together. You don't need to ever worry, Mr. Jenkins. After this taste of how much work it is, I'll never try to run you competition. Well, I'll see you all Friday.
Goodbye, Pete.
So long, Sean.
Bye.
And just to think that we was sitting here thinking all evening. Oh, shucks. Let's practice the hymn for next Sunday services and see if we can't get all them those thoughts out of our minds. Everybody now. You're all right.
We are a prayer that calls me from a world of death and bids me at my Father's throne. Make all my wants and wishes known. In seasons of distress and grief, my soul has often found relief. And love has saved the tempest swell. Why thy return, sweet hour of prayer.
All right, Alice, you take the solo.
I bring shall my petition bear to him who's true and faithful. Let it change the waiting
Everybody.
and since he did me see his face, he hid his word and trust his grace. I cast on him my every care, and wait for thee, sweetheart of
You know, some days end and you feel you haven't learned much. But this day's just about over, and I'm real grateful for what it's learned me.
I know, Pa. I feel the same way.
Just goes to show you what jumping to conclusions can do. We sat here fussing and stewing all the time, when if we'd knowed the truth, we'd been as happy as old Brownie sitting there wagging his tail. No, down, boy, down. I wasn't calling you. Yeah, folks, let's just all resolve after this to know the truth of things before we make up our minds. Many a heart's been broken, and many a tear shed, 'cause folks did like we did tonight, made up their minds without knowing the truth of the matter. Let's remember it, folks, and never make that mistake again.
There's music in the air when the infant morn is nigh, and faintest blushes seen on the bright and laughing sky.
Everything's happy again down our way. Everybody's going to bed with a smile instead of a worry. And they'll be looking forward to the next singing practice, too. Don't forget our little visit, folks. We'll be expecting you in the Jenkins Parlor down our way.
Now, the trick is not to suck too hard, Julian. Just let it rest on your tongue. Savor the flavour.
Tastes a bit metallic, Peter.
Ah, that might be from the pewter sweetie box I keep them in. A little gift from my wife. Alan, care for a bonbon?
Oh, no, none for me, thanks, Mr. Knight. I've only just had my lunch.
It's 9:30 in the morning.
I know, but I was up early today looking for that rat that keeps eating Maureen's pork pies.
Well, if they don't kill him, nothing will.
And have you caught the culprit, Alan?
Not yet, but I've got him dead scared. There's droppings everywhere. You know, my uncle said it was a bit like that on the beach at Dunkirk.
I didn't know he fought in World War II.
No, when he went camping in the 70s.
Plum House by Ben Cottam and Paul McKenna.
Episode 1, Better the Devil. Is that another one, Alan? 6 pies in a week. That rat's got good taste. I'll give him that.
Ratty doesn't eat sweets, does he, Alan? My confectioner claims he can't get any more of these beauties.
Look, can we get going with this meeting? I've had to put up an electric fence round my Victoria sponge.
Are we not waiting for Thomas?
Oh, let's just start without him. He's always late these days.
He's certainly not been himself since that Emily girl left.
Emma.
Where is he now?
He's downstairs giving that school group a guided tour.
And then she told me she was leaving for the British Museum. I mean, I don't want to stand between her and her career, but I thought we had something special. You know, a chemistry, it's a connection. Oh, I just miss this so much.
Miss, why is that man crying?
Okay, I think it's time for home, everybody. Everybody, back on the bus, come on.
Well, he can't keep going on like this, moping about the place.
You're right, Maureen. It shows a complete lack of professionalism.
Exactly. And it's bloody annoying.
Blumhouse is supposed to be a joyful place, bringing happiness to everyone who comes to learn about the great poet George Pudding, who, admittedly, was somewhat of a depressive himself. But tertiary syphilis rarely brings out the best in people.
Maybe Tom just needs a holiday. Is that what they're called? When you take some days off? Talk of the devil.
Oh, sorry. Oh, what did I miss?
Everything all right? Thomas, your eyes appear a little red.
Not been sobbing again, have you, little Tommy Teardrop?
Now it's all right for men to cry.
Thank you, Alan.
If something painful happens. Like when I accidentally shot myself in the face with that bolt gun. Thinking about it, it might just have been my eyes watering.
Well, I haven't been crying anyways. I think I might just be allergic to something.
Aye, allergic to women dumping you.
She did dump me.
Yes, because you weren't actually going out.
Look, can we just get on with the meeting?
Right. First order of the day, we've received another letter threatening to cut our electricity off as we still haven't paid them.
Yeah, right. Yes, I forgot to do that. Did you leave
wait. What if we didn't pay the bill and instead worked by candlelight, just like George Pudding would have done?
No, Peter.
No, wait. Instead, we put our electricity money towards a new billiards table.
It's fine, Peter. I'll pay the bill.
I mean, I suppose I could always set my sights a little lower. I mean, a snooker table, perhaps?
Why don't we put that money towards new stock for the gift shop? I've just found these novelty slippers.
Guys, please, enough of the silly ideas. Look, that's my next school group. We'll finish this meeting later.
I don't know why he's being this difficult. So he got rejected by the love of his life. So what?
That happened to me once. My sit-on lawnmower refused to start. Broke my heart.
Well, it can't go on like this forever. We need to do something.
Maybe we should try and be extra nice to Tom for a bit.
Or... Go on, Julian. I like the sound of this. Or...
Perhaps, instead, you could put a call into your friends at the Trust, Peter. Maybe you suggest that Tom could do with a little break from work for a while.
We would be doing it for Tom's own good.
Exactly.
Give him a chance to rest and recuperate.
Right, Julian, where do we keep the telephone?
It rang the other day, so I put it in a cardboard box.
Good thinking. And what number do you press again to dial out of the museum?
It's just for a week or two, Tom, until you're feeling better.
But honestly, I don't need a holiday, sir.
We're worried about your mental health, Tom. We keep getting complaints about you crying in front of children.
Oh, that's mostly allergies.
Listen, try to see the positives. You get time away from Plumhouse. That's enough to put a smile on anyone's face. So get out there and enjoy some of the Lake District. Do some walking. Find a girl who might actually like you back.
Sorry?
Let us know when you're ready to return. Bye, Tom.
Was it...
We'll be sorry to see you go, but, it's probably for the best.
I'm not leaving for good, Julian. I'll be back in no time.
How dare they just call you like that and force you into a sabbatical? I mean, where on earth do they summon up the
Peter,
note?
I know this was your idea.
Ah, I see. Well, in my defence, I'd say it was mostly Maureen and Julian's idea, really.
You coward. We all agreed that...
Look, guys, you should have just talked to me. I mean, not gone behind my back like that. I know I haven't exactly taken Emma's departure very well.
You don't say.
I would have tried to say something to them, Tom, but I'm not very good with my words, with speaking.
Oh, Alan, I know, it's fine. Look, it's not your fault. There's no need for tears.
No, it's not that. I was trying to work out what I did wrong with that bolt gun last time, and, well, I've only gone and shot myself with it again.
Right. Well, mark my words, I bet you'll all be begging for me to come back in no time.
Oh, you just take as long as you need.
Right, Julian, I need you to find the nearest billiards table manufacturer and...
Whoa! You can hold it right there. If we're spending that money on anything, it'll be them slippers.
Ignore her, Julian. Quick! Time is of the essence!
You get back here!
Maybe we could spend a bit of the money on a rat trap for me, Mr. Knight. It's very hard to catch him with just my bare hands.
Peter, I've been meaning to talk to you about the possibilities of a raise.
A raise? Pour moi, that's very kind of you, Julian. I'm glad that my hard work isn't going unnoticed round here.
I meant for me, Peter.
Oh, then I don't think so, Julian. 9 feet of green baize won't come cheap.
Ah, at last. So this museum is staffed, after all?
Yes, but I'm afraid we're closed to visitors today, so if you'll just be on your merry way...
Don't forget the gift shop on your way out.
Do I look like a visitor?
It's hard to say. We don't often have them.
And when we do, they're usually in school uniform. That is to say that they're kids, not just adults wearing them.
My name is Roger Barclay, and I've been sent here from the National Heritage Trust as your previous supervisor's temporary replacement.
They've sent somebody already?
It appears your reputation precedes you. They were adamant a safe pair of hands was needed right away. And naturally, when I heard I'd be covering at the infamous Plum House, I decided to come out of early retirement for one last job.
Just as one troubleshooter leaves...
Ah, well, think of me as the troubleshooter's troubleshooter.
That sounds like a lot of trouble and a lot of shooting.
And I haven't even started yet, though I've had a quick look round, and let me begin by saying that Plum House has certainly lived up to my expectations.
Oh, thank you.
Stop it.
That's very kind. We do our best.
In 35 years, I have never seen a museum in such a disgraceful state of disrepair, so dreadfully set up for visitors, and in such desperate, dire need of organisation.
You've gathered all that in half a minute.
So if you'll point me in the direction of your meeting room, I think it's time we all sat down and had a little chat. So I will be looking for hard work and commitment from everybody while I'm here. This is to be a well-oiled operation, a tight ship, and... What are you drawing, Peter?
Oh, just a little sketch of a billiards table. I'm wondering if we could make one ourselves.
There's some green felt in the craft box.
There is to be no billiards table. The only cue I want to see is one down the drive of Plum House.
No, you actually put them on the rack when they're not being used, old boy.
What I want you all to be concentrating on is your jobs, so that we give our visitors the optimal tourist experience. I'll be turning around this sorry place whether you like it or not, because Roger Barclay does not fail. No, he always does the exact opposite. He wins.
Isn't the opposite of failing succeeding?
Well, you understand what
Yeah, because you win or lose, don't you? You don't win or fail.
It's just a figure of speech.
It's like my sister. When I go playing darts, she always says, "Did you win 'em?" She means beat 'em. She gets upset when I tell her off.
Maureen...
Just because you're dying, Margaret, that's no excuse for bad grammar.
For the love of...
Wait a minute, chap. What if...
Alan, what are you doing down there?
Look, pork pie crumbs. That rat's been in here as well.
It certainly wasn't one of us eating Maureen's pork pies, you can be sure of that.
And what's that supposed to mean?
Right, that's it. I'm going to get acquainted with the rest of the museum, but for now, let me say this. You all need to start taking this a lot more seriously. These next few weeks are going to be the greatest challenge of my career, and I'm certainly not afraid to start replacing people.
You don't think you meant replacing me, do you, Peter? You seem to be looking right at me.
I'm sure his bark's worse than his bite. I've known a few tough guys in my time. Start off all butch, but they're putty in your hands by the end of the week.
You want another one, mate?
Oh, no, you're all right, thanks.
You've been on the same Diet Coke for 2 hours now. No wonder I'm going out of business.
Oh, sorry. Okay, well, can I get a pint of lime and soda, please?
You work at Plum House, don't you?
Well, yes. Well, I did work there. I mean, well, no, I still do, just not now. Sort of without a job currently.
Well, we're always looking for people to help out at the bar here, if you're interested.
Oh, that's very kind. I don't have any experience.
Oh, you can't go wrong. Just try and get as much of it as you can in the glass. And I'd only need you for an hour or two most days. And...
I guess if I'm going to be sat in here anyway.
Why don't you come round here now? I'll show you the ropes.
Okay. What? I'm trying. See, these are very sticky carpets.
Yeah, we haven't cleaned them for a bit. When did Diana die?
It was quite a while ago now.
Yeah, well, about 10 years before that.
You're the devil in disguise. Oh, yes, you are. The devil in disguise.
Where's my...
Looking for something?
Jesus, Roger. Where's my chair?
You'll find it in the skip outside.
But it's my favourite armchair.
Most people don't sit at their desk in an armchair. Now, you've heard of hot desking, I take it?
Of course I have. Peter invented it.
Good, well...
And it wasn't just marshmallows we toasted on that 3-bar fire. We did a kebab once. OK, that was going a bit far.
I first introduced hot desking at the Aberdeen Granite Experience.
Ah, well, it's a cold place, Aberdeen.
And productivity went through the roof. I think it's time people started looking at their own efficiency.
I have been saying this for years.
I'm talking about you. It's 11 a.m. and you've only just arrived at the museum.
And there isn't even anywhere for me to sit.
Don't worry. I've installed a new seating solution.
Oh, no. Exercise bikes? Oh, no.
Just like at the Truro Pasty Museum, I've identified workforce fitness as one of the first areas we need to improve upon.
Look, if you have to do things differently, then why don't we bring the beanbags back? Tom had us sitting on those for a while. Oh, God, they were great for napping on. Peter once slept.
Julian, let's get one thing absolutely clear. I'm in charge now, so we're going to do things properly. Time for your first task.
Oh, well, that's weird. What are all these?
You'll find that they are bag after bag of shredded accounts. And a glance at your contract reveals that you were specifically employed at Plum House to improve accounting procedures. Have you anything to say for yourself?
We used to burn the accounts, so shredding them is some sort of progress, isn't it?
It's going to be very hard for me to write a report on the state of the museum's finances, isn't it?
Oh, very hard. Impossible, in fact.
Not if you stick them back together. I'm not joking.
You want me to painstakingly reconstruct the accounts from these tiny ribbons?
Yes, or I'll fire you. Healthy accounting practice is the key to any successful business. I myself have saved meticulously over the course of my long and decorated career, and now find myself with not only a generous pension scheme, but...
Look, Roger, mate, look, we're very similar. You and I, both management, executive types. Focus on the bigger picture, don't get bogged down on the small stuff.
I'd like those accounts by Friday.
But Roger, please.
Feel free to stand up or ride one of the exercise bikes whilst you do it. The choice is yours.
Getting to know you, getting to know all about you. What the bloody hell?
Ah, Maureen, I thought you'd like it. I learnt the power of minimalism during my time at the Empty Warehouse Experience, Wolverhampton.
But where's my Isle of Fudge?
Gone.
Where's my bargain bin?
In the bin.
A bigger bargain bin?
I'm afraid not.
I thought Hitler went a bit far. Well, this is something else.
Now, I know these changes might take a little while to get used to.
Oh, at least you've kept my old till.
No, that's just there until the new self-checkouts arrive.
But people like my till. They love it how I have to hit it with a mallet to open it. How it doesn't have a 9 button so everything's rounded up to the pound. That's character, Roger. That's what people want.
I'm serious. You either get on board with the changes to the gift shop...
Or
the local charity shop might be getting a new volunteer.
Ah, just the man. You meeting go all right, John?
The bank won't give me the loan. Said this was the worst business I'd ever seen. Wouldn't even give me the beer mat back with the figures on it. Anyway, long story short, it might take me a while to pay your wages, Tom.
Oh, well, I don't mind doing a couple of shifts for free if it'll help you out.
You're joking, would you really?
Oh, yeah, it's just nice to be doing something different.
Oh.
Actually, just going to say, the clog dance is finished. Could you show me how to change the barrel?
Yeah, don't worry, I'll do it. The light bulb's gone in there, so you have to know where you're going. You just take it easy.
Well, if you say so.
Why don't you ever go on the fruit machine if you're bored?
Oh, best job ever. You right, John?
Oh, don't panic! Fell on a box of crisps. Didn't even know they were down here. Oh, lucky day.
I am happy because I'm climbing down a well. I am happy because I'm climbing down a well. Oh, there you are, Ratty. Cornered at last. I've got you. Rats in a bucket. I've got a rat in a bucket. Whoa! Flipping heck, steady on. Who's pulling me up?
Alan, what are you doing?
Catching a rat, Mr. Roger. Look,
He's a right fat little...
You climb down a well using a frayed old rope.
Is there a better way?
You need to read my pioneering safety manual, Roger's Rope Risks, written whilst covering maternity leave at the Industrial Accident Museum, Northampton.
I'm more into getting on with jobs.
So you say, but yesterday I showed you our new online task sheets where you keep us up to date with all your menial tasks round here. But you've entered nothing. Is your tablet not syncing with the Plumhouse cloud?
The only cloud in Plumhouse is when I've been digging a ditch in winter and I take my woolly hat off and steam comes off my head. Maureen doesn't like it.
Well, if jobs aren't catalogued in the system, how do we know you're doing them?
I work a 19-hour day. What do you think I'm up to?
But where's the proof of that, Alan?
I look older than me dad. I'm often mistaken for a ghost. And they got me a work experience lad once and he died of exhaustion within the week.
The trust needs real evidence nowadays and... Wait, what are you doing with that vermin?
Setting him free. There we go. Let him run off. Into the countryside, never to be seen again.
This is ridiculous. You should have destroyed him.
That's just cruel. I'm sure there's a home for him somewhere on this earth, just as there is for us all. I got that off my granddad. That's what he said to the council before they bulldozed his illegal bungalow.
Disgusting creature.
I hope you're talking about the rat.
Le peloton est regroupé, but there's a breakaway on. And as the tour enters the mountains, it's clear no one can prize Le Maillot Jaune from the back of England's Peter Knight, the titan of the two wheels. I say, chaps, this is rather fun, isn't it?
Exercise bikes in a museum? He's flipped his lid as that, Roger.
It's all right for you, Peter. We've had a week of this nonsense. In fact, where have you been this past week? Oh, come on, let's stop this.
And it's night once again by a country mile. Oh, it's been fantastic, Julian. Roger sent me on gardening leave.
Gardening leave?
Oh, I could do with a hand out there.
No, I haven't been swinging my scythe, I can assure you of that. No, I've been reclining in my hammock with a good book and, I admit, the odd libation. I've raised many a sundowner to old Rog in thanks.
Yes, but you do know what gardening leave really means, don't you, Peter? It's time off before you get sacked.
Oh, come off it. He's a teddy bear, is Roger. Like Tom, he wouldn't cut off the king's head. Though if blissful pottering round the garden is what I have to look forward to, then lead me to the guillotine. Tout de suite.
Yes, but Tom never messed with my gift shop. Oh, he threatened to, but he knew what would happen if he did.
And he never made me weave the accounts back together. It's like financial knitting.
Tom never made me type things onto a tablet. He told me to take tablets, but that was about it.
Calm down, dears. I really think you're working yourselves up into a wholly unnecessary frenzy. Why doesn't everyone have one of my bonbons? What? Look, where on earth?
No sweeties anymore, Peter.
Roger's thrown them away. Bad for the teeth.
How dare he? The man is insane. He's got to go at once.
But we can't exactly go crawling back to Tom, can we? Not after everything. I mean, it just seems beneath us to admit that we made a mistake.
Can you imagine his smug face? I'd never give him the satisfaction.
Tom might not want to come back anyway.
I think that sounds a little far-fetched, Alan. Everybody wants to work at Plumhouse.
Yes, you're right.
Think before you speak, Alan.
Yes, I'm sorry.
We'll have to get rid of Roger ourselves. Somehow.
Luckily, Peter Knight has always been the Professor Emeritus of the cunning plan.
Well, surprised these crisps aren't selling. 3 bags for 15p, it's a hell of a deal.
Are you sure they're cheese and onion?
All crisps taste of cheese and onion in the end.
Yeah, I mean, I've never even heard of Spitfire crisps. There's nothing on Google about them.
Oh, well, they're raging the war, mate. There's even a competition on the back to meet Field Marshal Montgomery.
Oh, is that my phone?
Oh, yeah, it says Charles Trust.
Oh, it's fine. Yeah, he's probably just calling to see if I'm ready for my old job back. I'll call him back later.
Ah, good lad, that's the spirit.
Shh, I think I can hear him coming.
Action stations, everyone.
What's my job again, Maureen?
Just act surprised.
Oh, my God.
Not yet.
You're not sweating enough, Peter. It won't look believable.
Curse my Olympian fitness. Come on, Peter. You're heading up the Champs-Elysees on the final stretch with a gang of tanned Europeans riding you behind. Give it all you've got.
He's here. He's coming.
Oh,
Naughty, naughty, starting the team pedal without me. Come on, let's do a 10K brainstorm. Although, Peter, you're going a little fast there.
Yeah, well, I'm just having a little morning pedal, get the old ticker thumping, just like you asked.
Yes, but I didn't mean...
You're looking a bit red, actually, Peter.
Are you feeling okay?
Yes, I'm tickety-boo. Apart from this colossal cardiac arrest.
No, stop pedaling, Peter.
I can feel my heart pounding away. It beats, and beats, and beats.
Oh, my God.
He's dead.
Stand aside, I know CPR.
Wait, you can't, Roger.
Why on earth not?
You might damage his chest. Can't you just let us grieve?
I should at least try mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Wait. Is he holding his thumbs up?
It's just rigor mortis setting in.
Right. I see what's going on here.
Just hope you filled out all the relevant health and safety forms, Roger. Checking that your employees didn't have any previous medical conditions before making them exercise.
Good point, Julian.
Making Peter cycle every day with his weak heart.
You could get into a lot of trouble for that.
Oh, my God.
Yes, all right, Alan, that's enough.
But if you quietly head back to London, Roger, we promise we won't tell anyone what happened here.
Yes, that's quite enough of that. Wakey, wakey, Peter. Do you lot really think this is the first time anybody's ever tried to frame me for involuntary manslaughter so I'd leave their museum? I'm afraid it's going to take a lot more than that to get rid of Roger Barclay.
Please, will you just leave us to it? We don't like you.
Well, as Charles has been unable to get hold of Tom, it's looking more and more likely that this might become a permanent replacement. And as I've always dreamt of living in the Lake District with a little pet project to keep me occupied, maybe it's time I finally started laying down some roots.
Oh, my God.
All right, I'll give you that one, Alan.
Rog, you know when I said we didn't like you, I was mostly talking about the others. I actually think that you're a fantastic guy. Much misunderstood.
Chaps, can I stop feigning death now? I wouldn't want to tempt the ferryman. I once did tempt a ferryman, but it was all just a cultural misunderstanding.
I cannot believe it's actually come to this.
Look, there he is.
God.
Oh, sweet Thomas, thank goodness you're here.
Well. What a surprise. I knew they'd come crawling back eventually.
I told you you'd be bloody smug about it.
Yeah, grow up, Tom. Let bygones be bygones.
And this is serious now, Thomas. This replacement of yours, Roger, I don't want to exaggerate, but he might very well be the devil incarnate, sat on a throne of pure evil.
Why, what's he done?
He's got us all working.
Yeah.
Nearly 9 till 5, every day.
Oh, right, well, I'm sorry, but I'm enjoying it here. I'm not sure I'll ever come back.
Is the boy in the grip of delusions? He's not making any sense.
You don't come back. Roger's going to try and make his position permanent. He's mates with Charles.
Put it this way, Thomas. I was never overly partial to your carrot, but I simply can't take Roger's stick. Put me down for a double helping. Your carrot, that is, not Roger's stick.
He was even going to kill a rat in cold blood.
Look, fine. I can't exactly work as an unpaid barman forever, can I? So I guess if you'll say you're very sorry, I'll come back.
Seems a bit full on, that.
Yeah, I'm not sure about this whole apologising thing.
No, do be reasonable, old chap.
Guys, come just...
Apologies.
Thank you. Lovely. Was that so hard?
Now lead us, Tom. Advise us.
What if Roger doesn't leave without a fight?
Yeah, he loves it up here. The bigger the challenge, the more he seems to enjoy it. How are we going to take him out?
Now this is the stuff, isn't it? I feel as the gunpowder plotters must have felt in the back room of some back street shebeen, gripping my hot dagger. Revolution on my tongue.
And here they all are.
We've been discovered.
Oh, my God.
But it's every man for themselves.
I was tracking Julian's mobile from the cloud.
I was actually trying to talk them out of this whole mutiny, Rog. As you know, big fan of your work.
And what a surprise, I found them all in a run-down spit and sawdust pub that's been left in the Dark Ages.
Hey, steady on, that's my pub you're talking about, pal. Now, anyone for a bag of Spitfire crisps?
Well, if you'd done any research on modern drinking trends, you'd know that all of this decor is actively putting customers off. Nobody wants fruit machines and dartboards anymore. They want gastropub food, log fires, board games.
Really?
Simplify the interior, bring back a bit of personality, market it to tourists coming to the Lake District looking for a bit of old world charm, but with all the latest mod cons.
Bloody hell, it's no wonder I'm going out of business.
Roger, Listen, I've been having a chat with the other staff members and
Wait. What do you mean going out of business? Are you saying this pub is for sale?
I mean, for the right price, yeah, but I can't see us going to want to take it on. It needs a complete overhaul from top to bottom.
Really? Now that is very interesting.
Well, it's nice to have everything back to normal.
Yes, it's good to be back. And I'm sorry about before. I promise I won't be moping again. That break has done me a world of good, and I'm well and truly over Emma now.
Who?
The old education officer, Peter. Big brown eyes, an infectious laugh, lit up every room that she
No, that's
came...
enough of that. Tell them our good news, Alan.
Oh, yes. Ratty's been eating Maureen's food again, so he's still alive and well.
A real glutton for punishment.
No, the good news is that John was so chuffed to sell his pub to Roger, he's given us £200 as a token of his appreciation.
Generous to a fault. No wonder his business went down the drain.
And I'm pleased to say I'll be putting this money towards a new shipment of pudding slippers.
Nonsense. This money will have to go towards the billiards room.
It's not going to either of those things. We should start saving it for a rainy day.
Where's the fun in that?
And it's always bloody raining round here.
Guys, I'm sorry, but it's not your decision to make. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go print some pamphlets for the school group. It took a lot of grovelling to get them back here.
Whoever wanted Tom back?
Not me.
I can always fake my own death again. I should definitely like to try that mouth-to-mouth resuscitation option this time. Make a note of that, Julian.
Yes, Peter.
Plum House was written by Ben Cottam and Paul McKenna. It starred Tom Bell, Simon Callow, Jane Horrocks, Miles Jupp, Alex Lowe and Piers Quigley, with Pip Torrens as Roger. It was directed by Paul Schlesinger and the producer was Claire Broughton. Plum House is a BBC Studios production.
And the wonderful Plum House Collective.
Are you sure you've got the right night, Peter?
It's definitely tonight's episode, Tom.
I must admit, I'd never heard of this television programme until they asked me to appear on it.
Born in Croydon in 1971, Darren Brown...
Thanks very much for joining us. Sunday Night with Old Time Radio airs from 8 to 11 p.m. every Sunday, Central Time, and we hope that you'll be a regular listener. So until next time, till you can join us again, sleep tight. This is a production of Lobato Studios, Sao Paulo, Brazil.